Yo, what's up, everybody? How you doing? Nice to see you. Welcome in. I am Kane B, and this is The Purge. I'll be your host today. I've switched back now to my favorite, the Cosmic Peach, which this show is brought to you by today, in the color yellow. So welcome in, everybody. Amanda Smith, edited it out. Meanie Weenie, we got Rowie, Amy Conway, Donna Salamander, Big Dan, the man. And I don't know about you guys, but I haven't been sleeping this night. I wouldn't say I haven't been sleeping. I kind of woke up at 9 o'clock today, and usually I'll take a little nap after that. It didn't happen today, so Tony's here. And, he likes you guys today. He's going to stare out. And then Twiz watching. I have a confession to make. I haven't picked up the guitar yet today. I have a new guitar that I was thinking about buying. I tried to make a trade deal with the dude today. I don't know. I think I'm going to save up for a little bit longer and get a Paul Reed Smith. Although this thing is about as close to a Paul Reed Smith as I ever played. That's not a Paul Reed Smith, but it's not a Paul Reed Smith. So we're probably going to wait and hang out on that and just play the Jackson. I will find that plate by the next show so I can rock out, as they say. There is so darn much that I'm just going to get ready to, and I have all kinds of wild guestages and vestiges, and I hope everybody's doing well. You all look wonderful. I hope you enjoy the reel.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to make a video saying thank you to all my new subscribers. This is a new venture for me. I've never done this before, so thank you so much for all your support.
Are you okay? What happened? Grab the front brake?
No.
Well, I'm not walking back up this hill.
You're driving.
Driving?
No, I don't want to do it. I just fucking fell. No.
This is why you wear some dirt bike clothes.
Go around to the other door.
No, I ain't did this.
Go around.
Dash, come here.
Las Vegas. We are on Tropicana
What's up, Don?
in front of the Walmart. Every last one of the light poles, the electricity poles are down. This goes for Mouse. We ain't got no power. I don't know what the hell is going on.
Wally is believed to have fallen asleep on an iceberg and then drifted in blissful ignorance south from the Arctic to Ireland, which is a very unusual place for walruses to be. After he was initially spotted, Wally decided to take a solo vacation across Western Europe, and marine biologists tracked him as he visited the UK, France, and even Spain. He then started making his way back up north, but during his 6-week stay on the Isles of Scilly, Wally started getting up to some mischief, and he started using boats as his personal nap rafts. Because Wally weighed an estimated 1,800 pounds at the time, and some of the vessels that he chose were relatively small, he ended up capsizing and sinking several boats. So in an attempt to be accommodating hosts, and to try to minimize property damage, the British Divers Marine Life Rescue crafted a floating couch just for him, which was really a sturdy pontoon with 3 sides to lean against. Wally took to the floating couch, and once he left the area and continued north, Seal Rescue Ireland also prepared a special float for him, allowing Wally to actually couch surf his way back up the coast. After a short stay in Cork, Ireland, Wally was spotted in Iceland 22 days later, which was great news for everyone following his journey. This confirmed that Wally was successfully making his way back to the Arctic, where he's now believed to be living a much more typical walrus life with all of his walrus friends.
She is, in fact, an attorney, but not only is she an attorney, she is a federal attorney. She's well known, well qualified to defend clients charged with the death penalty as lead counsel in state court. She's also known for being a powerful advocate for clients charged with serious federal crimes, state felonies, and misdemeanors.
You know how many states make up the United States?
50
You know what the capital is?
of
United States?
Harrisburg. Oh, is there a capital in the U.S.?
Who fought in the Civil War?
The Civil War? Wasn't it... What's his name? Kennedy? Kennedy's...
Yeah, Kennedy against who?
I don't...
A Tennessee man who was pardoned by President Trump has been sentenced to life in prison for plotting to attack FBI agents and attempting to incite a civil war. Edward Kelly was the fourth rioter to enter the Capitol on January 6th. He faced a separate investigation for targeting federal agents who were looking into his role in the Capitol attack. Now Kelly is set to spend the rest of his life behind bars.
And make this person say that they had nothing to do with it. He did it solely. He did it all on his own, and nobody else was responsible. And then we won't keep having these supporters always saying that he got set up. We know what he's planning on doing. Somebody died, a vet died, and he's going to try to say that, put the blame on that person. So he's not going to take accountability. And Thompson didn't force him to take accountability. He didn't even negotiate. That's terrible.
You don't think 4 life sentences is justice?
No, of course not. It's daycare. Prison is daycare, people.
If you could tell the judge one thing today, what would it be?
Do what's right. Do what you know. I mean, 4 people died in their sleep. If we had 4 other people that weren't college students, this would be the death penalty.
What do you want us to know about Caleb today?
Caleb would be ashamed of what happened today.
What do you want to happen? Why do you want this to go to trial?
Because they're my peers. This community will decide that he's guilty. We can take it out of freaking Thompson's hands. One man shouldn't decide what 4 souls are worth.
You said they made a deal with the devil?
Well, yeah, they did.
What is that?
Thompson. Thompson made a deal with Kohberger. He was the only person that was considered.
Yo, KB, is that the name you claim? Rolling through genres, let me play this game. Rap like a madman, Eminem with the slang, spitting bars so sharp like a rap hangman. From YouTube fame to Idaho's wild ride, you're breaking it down, putting truths aside. Kane B got the purge, no doubt he's the king, breaking down the case like a YouTube machine. Kane B the purge, bringing heat in the booth. Facts on the table, there's no room for proof. Throwing down lyrics while the world's watching. Is it guilty or free? That's the question we're knocking. Kane B the purge, taking Idaho by storm. He's got the heat and the truth breaking the norm. We're all glued to this case, no one's letting go. Will Bryan be guilty or will he be let go? Kane B's in the game, watch him lay it all bare. Will justice find the truth or just disappear in the air? Here's my bubblegum pop, you ready or not? Kane B's in the mix with the case so hot. Rap, rock, pop, he's switching it up. Dancing through the genres like a YouTube cup. Got Kane B, the purge, putting the story in flow. Breaking it down with humor, watch the case blow. Boom, Kane B's riding with electric groove. Breaking it down, yeah, he's on the move. He's got the purge, so come and watch him reign. Sipping on knowledge like it's truth on a train. Kane B the purge, taking Idaho by storm. He's got the heat and the truth breaking the norm. We're all glued to this case, no one's let go. Will Bryan be guilty or will he be let go? Kane B's in the game, watch him lay it all bare. Will justice find the truth or just disappear in the air? vibes on deck. Let's get a little smooth, but don't forget, I'm bringing humor, I'm bringing the sound, but this case got us all spinning round. KB with the truth, it's hard to ignore, like waiting for that next chapter in the lore. It's hard to ignore, like waiting for that next chapter in the lore.
Ooh, yeah. All right, I got a little clip I'm going to play here for you right at the end. Before I bring it up, I got a little bit of Mews I want to do. I got a ton of Mews, but I've been waiting all day for this.
What is he thinking
segment.
to himself tonight, if you had to guess?
Well, I think he's enjoying all of this in his own way, that he's getting a lot out of this, that maybe it has paid off for what he's done and some of the changes, just as we've been talking about some of the appearances. And that is he going to be the best mass killer? You know, as the judge said, it's a high profile case. So all of that is feeding into the part of him that really wants the recognition and thinks that he pulled it off or tried to pull it off. So I think he's just thinking of ways that maybe how it's going to go, who he's going to see, and how much he's going to be able to enjoy this. I don't think at this point, this is a high. This is before he goes to prison, where it's going to be, nobody's going to be there. I think that's when there's the big drop that they all describe. So he's high on it right now.
All right. Yeah. So just in case you missed it last night, Annie Peterson revealed to us that she's incommunicado with BK himself, and the big takeaway there was that he was more concerned that creators were taking heat for him than he was about his own self. But it does appear, allegedly, that this is a ploy, a tactic, this guilty plea, and I don't. You can argue over the semantics of it with whether it's a confession. I would call a confession when you can describe the crime scene, which they haven't seemed to bother, where's my thing, asking for. They just want the guilty plea. They don't care if he really did it. Here they have their opportunity to, let me pull this up here. Mews. And it's funny that was surviving the survivor there, right? And it's just funny to me, not funny like haha funny, that she has kind of just jumped on this medium. She's taken the sled all the way to Oklahoma. I mean, she's just got this full imagination of what he's thinking, and she's the go-to on whatever imagination she has is oh yeah, that sounds like fact. Sure, all right, let's go with that. Let's run. Let's completely ignore all the facts and all the other evidence there. Okay, so yeah, it's a confusing time. You have a right to, I'll allow it. I'll allow you to be. Just don't be upset. Let Rowie handle everything. It's nice to see you, Tammy. Everybody, Donna Salamander. I missed somebody in there. I did see Dan Ferguson. Fem Narcotic. Hello. Leslie and Billy. Like peace here. Water Otter. Welcome in. Social Club. If you're new to the Perch, please hit that subscribe button and the like and do all the YouTube things so you don't miss a minute of our lives here. We got a great show for you today. Jenn will be joining us in about 15 minutes. You never know when JJ Vance might appear, but he will need 7 minutes. So let's look at this first one. And this is from Angel Great Britain, a little postie that she did. Bryan Kohberger, this was a couple of days ago. So Bryan Kohberger has 19 days to change his plea, and I'll make this bigger so you guys can see. And I'm sorry it sounds like a wind tunnel in here, but my beautiful voice is hopefully shining right through. But yeah, it appears that he does have, well, I guess now it'd be 17, 16 days. He could take up prosecutorial misconduct and the judge bias route, which would be logical. And then, so there's this and all that, blah, blah, blah. And withholding the grand jury evidence. Oops. So there's a lot of things. There's still a chance. All right. So, okay. I just thought this was great. A Q-tip. Spotless car were key evidence linking Kohberger to the unalivings of 4 Idaho students. Boise, Idaho, the lead prosecutor tasked with finding justice for 4 University of Idaho students. Blah, 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 blah. The evidence summary recited by that idiot before Kohberger entered his pleas spun a dramatic tale of a DNA-laden Q-tip. A getaway, that was his dad's Q-tip. His dad. A getaway car that was essentially disassembled inside. Okay, first of all, it was disassembled by law enforcement. He cleaned his car over the holidays. And fateful early morning DoorDash order. Is that right? Is that right? These details offered new insights into how the crime... It was literally a list of the same BS they've been giving us since day one. But now these are new insights. And how investigators ultimately solved the case using surveillance footage, cell phone tracking data. I mean, this is like literally like I need a drum roll or a rim shot after every one of these. Take a rim shot. Sleuthy Sweetie, if you're watching, hello. I wanted to give her a shout out and make sure everybody joins her channel. She's been with us for a long time. If anybody has the link in there, hello Tammy. Link in there, put it up for us, please. That was her doing that little introduction at the beginning of the reel. And you can see I'm just letting myself go. I haven't cut my hair. It's just been one of those weeks, yo. These details offer new insights, onto how the crime unfolded. But the synopsis leaves hanging key questions that could have been answered at a trial, or if they'd asked them, including a motive for it. That would be nice to know, a motive. The small farming community of Moscow in northern Idaho Panhandle had not had one in about 5 years, or one that they reported. Now Kohberger, 30, had begun a doctoral degree in criminal justice. We know this. It's if you want to read it, there. Here, I'm not even going to put the link. You don't want to read it. Clearwater News. Okay, so I thought this was interesting. This is one of the few I'm going to go over before we get everybody up here. Mr. JJ Vance in the house. Nice to see you, sir. Heather. We got the WSU cybersecurity students. Hold on, sorry. This is bothering me. Gain national recognition. So I can only assume these would be some of his classmates over there at Wazoo. And here they carry on without him. A team of computer science students from WSU earned a national recognition, blah, 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 so you get the idea. Former friends. You guys are... apparently I missed something in Lana's live yesterday. I haven't had a chance to watch it. I pulled it up, and then I think I did other things. I think something about Kopaka. If anybody knows the gist of that one, give me a heads up. Father's pursuit for missing daughter heats up with new evidence in case that's no longer cold. Nearly 2 decades after a Florida woman vanished from an apartment building without a trace, authorities have announced a new break that could breathe new life into a formerly cold case. Jennifer Kessie, 24, vanished in Orlando after leaving for work. About an hour and a half into the workday, I received a call from her work, Drew Kessie said, and they said that she had a meeting and she didn't show up. Kessie immediately tried to reach his daughter, relying on a family rule that they would always answer each other's calls, but her phone went straight to voicemail. I knew something was wrong immediately. More than a decade later, the family filed a lawsuit against City of Orlando and OPD Mayor's Office, citing a botched investigation into Kessie's disappearance and requesting documents pertaining to the search. There she is, Kessie. OPD, the City of Orlando and the mayors did not immediately respond. The lawsuit resulted in the first successful request for records involving an ongoing case, which the city handled over 16,000 pages of material involved in the investigation. I'm going to leave that one alone. Drew Kessie compiled a team of 13 members of law enforcement, including former U.S. Secret Service and FBI agents, to continue advancing the search for the daughter. In November 2022, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement took over the case, with any leads into Kessie's disappearance eventually running cold until last month, when Kessie received a call from the FDLE telling him that investigators had obtained new DNA evidence and, using a list compiled by Kessie's team, narrowed down their persons of interest. So there should be some developments on that. Here we go. I forgot who linked me to this, and I thank you. I want to say that it was Juicy. Special Assistant U.S. Attorney sought in northern Iraq. Coeur d'Alene, more than 2 years after the first talks about creating a Special Assistant U.S. Attorney position in northern Idaho to help combat drugs and trafficking and stuff. These special prosecutors are funded through partnerships between the state of Idaho and local municipalities tackling regional issues. For example, the special prosecutor in the Treasure Valley focuses on gangs, while the SAUSA in Pocatello focuses on drugs. Under North Idaho's SASU initiatives, offenses will be tried in federal court. Former U.S. Attorney Josh Hurwitz said the SASU initiative will help enable North Idaho to use federal resources to help knock out the sources. So, you can see what I see. And he is coming from a position of federal and also from a rug perspective. So can we add these two interesting details into our case? Kootenai County is the Oregon-Idaho intensity rug trafficking area with Interstate 90 and 95 serving as a major corridor, trafficking from Washington, Montana, and Canada. Kids go to bed. The state of Idaho, through Governor Brad Little's office, is contributing $75,000 and $50,000 and blah, 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 blah. The Office of the Special Assistant U.S. Attorney will be based in Shoshone County with the county hand. So that is what brought this guy to the table. Man in charge, right? Those just keep happening, and it keeps ramping up. Lewiston. Oop, get rid of that there. How'd that get there? Oh, this is a follow-up to the story I did last couple weeks. 160 people wanted to be buried in space. Their capsule slammed into the ocean instead. And so they paid a pretty penny. There was a lot of athletes and such things on the list. I guess they'll be floating in water instead of space. I feel bad for the families that paid the ridiculous amount of money to do that. Okay. And let's see what we got here. Now, the statistics are out, you guys. Are you biting your nails? Crime in Latah County down 15% in 2024. Isn't that amazing? Are you impressed? Crime locally in Idaho has hit a 4-year low. It pays when you don't take a report or when you don't file things correctly, doesn't it? The annual state crime report has been released by ISP. Latah County saw total crime reports drop by 15% last year. That was driven by a major drop in car thefts, down over 50%, and there was also about half as many burglaries in Latah last year. Crime in Moscow, reported police department. They even say, crime in Moscow reported to or reported by the police department dropped by over 70% in 2024. Bingo. This happened in the same town. If you remember the Trayvon Martin, that's Sanford, and the lightning hit the stored fireworks and it all blew up. Hi, Angel D. Very nice to see you, Kimmers. Welcome in. I'm happy to have you here today. So you wonder how important, and Bubbly Waters is on the same page, I know for a fact, with these football programs and how important they are to the school. Well, let's look at how much money they bring to the table. WSU football will have a $4.5 million pool for the new fiscal year. And those are just a benefits pool, whatever that is. On and on and on and on and on. Let's see what we got here. Chelsea. Let's see if I can beat her this time. Here we go. Boom. Bet you weren't ready for that. Ha! Winner. She beat me the last 2 times, I'll tell you that. Okay, let's go here. Let me check the back of the room here. If nobody's ready. Everybody's always late to the purge. It's like, it's the purge. It'll be there. Excuse me. Oh yeah, that was good. Okay, clear it out. Chelsea Whitaker's in the house, in which she brought her twin flame universe with her. If you have not found your ultimate mate, you may want to consider checking in with Jeff and Shalia's cult. They have a wonderful giant television and a tiny little waterfall surrounded by a beautiful jacuzzi. Let's see here. This is that one I just read. I don't know how they got in there twice. Let's see. This guy. They caught him. Okay. They got him. This was the sad story. And apparently...
Don't settle for less.
I talked to my brother, and he lives outside of Round Rock. They used to live in Round Rock, and I guess the floods have unfortunately taken... What's up, Dago? Welcome in. floods have taken like 80 lives or something like that. And so he said that the flooding was about an hour south or west or something of them. So everybody in my family's okay. Prayers going out to those that lost their lives and those poor campers. It's really sad. Alright, so here we go. Here's something. Oh, I forgot. Today is a special day. And let's clone me real quick. I haven't been cloned in a while. Need to get cloning to kind of cleanse the spirit, you know. And let's get into it here. I'm going to join you guys over there in the regular people chat. The peasants in the chat. Let's clone James Moen, very nice to see you. Let's mute this so I'm not all echoey. And we'll get there eventually. Okay, when the chat comes out. Today is Free Membership Monday. So let's get right to it. And boom, there's 5. What? Congratulations. Did anybody get some members there? I'm putting a lot of videos in the members only now for various reasons. So hopefully you'll enjoy them. They're only $1. So if you want to join in, you can join in. There's 5. We'll do 5 after we talk to the guys here or whatever. And let me get back to where I was. It's a Ran Contra Fair. I really had hoped I'd had that Les Paul today. I might buy that. I just put a 1 in the chat if you think I should buy that Les Paul. $350. Oh, there. Were you there? Is this a purge? Are we purging? Mooneyvale got one. Yay. WB. The WB. Where was that? Okay, so we got Christy Gonzalez, Kim Kernodle on the... So this was one I skipped over the other day, and I meant to get to about the background and expertise and qualifications of Judge Stephen Hippler from the 4th District Court. So let's read a little bio. The Honor Stephen Hippler is a judge for the 4th Judicial District. He was appointed to the bench by former Governor Butch Otter. Water Otter? You might want to take note. Hello, Dana Renee. Keep it reals up in here. Uh-oh, Wolf Angel. Whoa. I better get on point here. All right, let me get to reading. Water Otter. The 4th Judicial District, Ada, Boise, Elmore, and Valley counties over the course, and I have a confession to make, actually. Twiz made a good point the other day, and he's trying to talk me into moving out my one argument is that Miss Potts, you crazy fool. I love you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh my gosh. She's gonna bankrupt herself trying to support my guitar fund. I got some ones. I see some ones in there. Fem Narcotic, meaning username says too. Username wants me to hold out for the PRS. I think you might be right. There is nothing like the PRS when you drop that E string down to C. Ooh, just. Anyway, yeah, I'm kind of considering plugging in the Jackson even without the plate, even though it could break the solder on it. But we'll see. It depends on how we have so much, and I don't even know if a 5-hour purge is going to include everything. Let me see. I'm just going to take a cheat here and look in the background. Okay, so I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to get to the other thing that I know you guys are here for. You don't want to see Kane, you want to see Jage, you want to see Jenn, you want Twiz. I get it, guys. They start here. Okay, so that's what it includes. Prior to his appointment, Hippler was a partner at Gibbons Pursley, a law firm which he joined in 2002. Before that, he spent time as a partner at Hall, Farley, Oberrecht, and Blanton. He has represented doctors, hospitals, and other medical providers in medical malpractice. Now, I said out of the 60 people in that courthouse, why did they select Hitler? And somebody retorted, it was a pretty good answer, and I was like, that when asked, all the other people said, who would you pick? They all said he's the go-to guy. And we can see what a fair judge he is. He has representing doctors' hospitals in malpractice cases, business disputes, and regulatory matters. I don't even see criminal there. But that doesn't deter him. He was appointed, remember, by Butch. That makes sense. Prior to his appointment, Hitler's partner gives personally, Hitler received a bachelor's degree from Boise State. And I found out today that one of our local DJs is an alumni of Boise State. She's on the Roger and JP show. Is anybody familiar with Roger and JP? It's a syndicated show, and it's pretty good. So he then completed a JD, jurism, at the University of Utah. The Mormons are coming for us. S.G. Quinney College of Law in 1991. He is admitted to practice in Idaho in 91, and the United States District Court for the District of Idaho in 91. His memberships have included the Jury Committee and the Rules of Civil Procedure Committee of the Idaho Supreme Court. He was involved with Idaho's Supreme Court Task Force charged with revamping the language of Idaho Rules of Civil Procedure. Born and raised in Boise, Idaho, Hitler attended Bishop Kelly High School. In his free time, he has coached youth football and youth baseball. Can you imagine being on Hitler's team? The thing that kills me is Supreme Court Task Force charged with revamping the language, but he can't understand anything. You sent this guy to revamp the language, and he can't wrap his head around a simple day-to-day court proceeding. Oh my goodness. If you want to call, don't call. There's the numbers. That's another thing. Okay, so with people flooding his office with threats and all, and we know where that's coming from. Again, thank you, Ms. Potts. Amanda Smith, welcome in. There's a lot of passion in this case, and Twiz, well, I'll let Twiz tell what Twiz thinks about where his feelings are going to be coming up after what's probably going to unfold within the next few days. It's been a whirlwind, and thankfully they've kind of given us a couple days off here to move on. So, all right, I'm going to keep going with Mews. Whenever you guys are ready, come on up and we'll start fighting. This is Miss Potts. I smell rotten potatoes. I think this, I clipped this a few days ago. The whole thing looks and smells like spooks doing spook kids go to bed. If he did do this, he is absolutely deserving of it. The question then becomes, why would the state ever want to remove the option?
Is this the purge?
Oh my goodness. I didn't even see you come in. What, did you sneak in?
Are we purging?
Is this a movie review, or are we reviewing Tropic Thunder today? Can you hear me? Hello. Is he ignoring me, folks? Oh, there he goes.
Are we purging?
Good evening, sir. Welcome, and let me make sure I got you. Oh, I'm not mic'd up. Hold on. This is my fault, folks. Sorry.
I can't hear you, sir.
Okay. There we go. How about that now?
Purge.
Hello, hello, hello. Hello, sir.
Oh, now I can hear you.
How do I look
Greetings,
today
good
is more
sir.
important.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we do. We do. We saw you for a second there. That was nice. Miss Potts dropped $20 and said you had to show your face for at least half the show tonight.
I'm going to call bullshit on half of that. Thank you, Miss Potts, for the $20 to the purge. But the other half I'm going to call bullshit on. No one said these things.
It's in the subtext, sir.
I'm rolling a doobie at the moment. Give me 1 second. How's the fellow purgers? How you doing today?
Leslie and Billy's here. Leia's story. All the heavy hitters have joined us today.
The heavy hitters.
Yes, sir. Yes,
glad
sir.
Glad to see everyone's back, and they also didn't break up with you for breaking up with them 67 times.
I'm never going to live that one down. Reunited.
This is the greatest purge ever. This is the best purge we've ever done.
And do you agree? I agree. I think this really going somewhere. It's got legs today. Todd Miller's here. Welcome in. Silent G, even though he doesn't like me, he's here. So I love it. All right. What's good with you, my friend? How's the Ohio lifestyle treating you?
A lot of rain, a lot of heat, a lot of humidity. I'm a half ginger man who doesn't do well in heat, despite spending 5 years in the Middle East, which was not great for me. But
it's been the hottest. I mean, today's like hopefully the precipice or the crest of the heat, but I mean, I'm probably at like 85 right now with the air blasting me. I just turned it on. I was sweating to the oldies earlier, but yeah, I'm sure you guys are feeling it because you still have that snow-soaked wet ground, and so when the heat hits it just evaporates and just makes things absolutely miserable, I can imagine.
I don't know what any of that means. I'm not a meteorologist. I'm also not the vice president, but here's the deal, bud. We've hit some record high temps here in recent weeks, and I'm not a big fan of it.
It does seem like it has overall increased incrementally in the last few years, doesn't it?
I don't like it. I think someone activated the alien weather devices at nearby Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Have you been watching those Sasquatch videos where they break into Area 52?
No, that sounds ridiculous. Is that real?
It's AI, but no, they're real Sasquatch videos where they break into Area 52.
Sweet, dude. It's a documentary on Sasquatch from real Sasquatches. I've been waiting for this moment.
Sasquatch and Freddy the Yeti. Oh man.
So, if I may offer some opening statements, sir, on my thoughts after re-reviewing matters from last week's performance by Bill Thompson. I don't understand what any of that was. Not only did, like you said, he basically read the PCA that he already argued out of court. The same PCA that we heard witness testimony from the detective saying it was a group effort. The same PCA, like they're all just typing shit on there. No one's responsible or accountable, despite Brett Payne signing it. But they also failed to get it notarized. That mother Farfig-Nugan has not been notarized since December 28th, 2020. Right? And on above that, the court only released Exhibit A of the motion. We don't even know the attached motion to that Exhibit A that we call the PCA. So, and on above that nonsense, old Billy Boy, he decided he was going to slip one in there, right? Because he says that there's no intent. He says in his own statement that Kohberger had no intent to murder, yet then reads off charges that require intent of first degree.
Well, with two of them, for sure, right?
Well, if there's no intent, you can't have first degree.
And that was just like turned into a big cry fest there. Let me get Jen the link.
I mean, the whole thing's a shit show from every angle. I'm just saying, like, the jurisprudence in these matters of the attack and assault on American jurisprudence, that is, from the due process violations from the grand jury of the federal level to, shielding that from these state charges, right? To all of these shit shows to the they didn't stalk him. He didn't stalk them 12 times. To Bill Thompson later going, oh, well, no, it was actually 23 times. And, the whole statement of the PCA where Kohberger's sitting in his apartment while pinging on the same tower, they left that out of the performance at the hearing, right?
Well, the thing that really grinded my gears on that was the fact that it doesn't matter to them if he can describe how it was done and all the details. They just want the guilty plea. They don't. They were so busy getting the party ready that they didn't mind who they invited.
Well, I understand that aspect, and I certainly agree in part because obviously, as I've been saying all along, I don't know how these roommates testify in this trial. The surviving roommates, given what the known knowns and the obvious lack of frozen shock phase, despite these claims being made in that same PCA, the unnotarized signed PCA by Brett Payne, despite it being, under Brett Payne's own admission, a group effort.
I think that should it actually come back around to them having to testify, though, they will certainly take a beating in the cross. But I think that both the prosecution and the judge himself will lay out the red carpet, because clearly they're far more dependable than anybody like that conspiracy theorist Cy Ray and his band of wild lunatics.
Well, obviously we know that's bullshit, but on its face, like I said, the state, how can they ever have them come in and testify to anything they couldn't allow across? You can't put them in front of a jury. There's just no way around it. It's just so much bullshit they've already transpired in this case that the state's already argued out themselves. Again, there was no frozen shock phase. How are they supposed to overcome that hurdle in trial, right? They never intended this to go to trial, and I think that's what we're seeing now is the pressure that's put on behind the scenes. Again, when you joined me for Operation GCD Independence Day there last Friday in the Purge invasion, I discussed that case of Dale Shackelford. Now, he is a scumbag, and scumbags are hard to defend, but that doesn't mean that scumbags are murderers. And again, in that case, it seems to me, as I look at more of the details, that dude got railroaded. So it seems the body that he's convicted for the murder of his ex-wife was not his ex-wife. The victim burned up in that Latah County remote cabin near Kendrick, Idaho, was didn't have a uterus. Had a uterus, and apparently his ex-wife, by record, had a hysterectomy years prior. So that's strange. So they railroaded him anyway through that process, right? And then in doing so, they got his fiance and his fiance's mother to testify against him. And when they weren't willing to do so initially, they got charged with obstruction of justice and accessory to murder. So if Thompson was going to run the same playbook here, right? Because that was Thompson then, right? 1999. He's going to run the same playbook here. Well, what if he did the same thing to Kohberger's parents based upon that 6 a.m. phone call on Sunday the 14th?
Say again, right. Now the Kohberger's parents?
Yeah, so allegedly it's been admitted by the state that Kohberger called his parents, I believe it's 6 a.m. on the morning after the murders, right? Before he took that selfie, right? So a selfie that we now know has been tampered with, and as we assumed before, had been photoshopped in some regard, and it has, just like they did to Orenthal James Simpson, by making him darker and making it a whole black versus white thing on the cover of Time magazine. They took his mugshot and darkened it about 10 degrees, if you will. So the same thing with Kohberger. They made him look super creepy in that selfie, and they took away his. They basically blasted his face. There was some Photoshop of just the light on there, so he looked real pale, and you couldn't see the features of his face, like his beard, his 5 o'clock shadow that he's rocking that morning, stuff like that. So anyhow, my point being here is, what if they were going to do the same thing here, based upon that phone call that morning that he allegedly made to state claims to his folks? What if they were going to charge his folks with accessory to murder or obstruction of justice, like they did Shackelford's fiance and his soon-to-be mother-in-law?
That would be really wild. They have balls, and it seems they keep going back. And I don't know if I just got Steve G on the brain or what, but it seems you're in the back room there, Jen. We saw you, unless that was Twiz. It seems they go back to they were sleeping. Like they just never let that out. And we clearly know they're not sleeping. Now, where did you get the information that we know this selfie has been doctored, even though I fully agree? Have you vetted that? Because I actually found a website where you can take a picture and it'll tell you whether or not it's been altered or it's whatever.
Well, I don't trust machines, sir. I trust my eyeballs, though, and I'll bring up a picture. I actually saw it on Twixter from Jules, True Crime Jules. She posted a picture from recent Peacock episode on the murders, and she compared the picture from the one released by the state of the selfie and the greetings, sir. There you
What's
go.
up, Dago? How
Welcome
you
to the
doing, man?
Purge. And compared that, and you can see it. And again, it's the same thing they did to Orenthal James Simpson.
Let me make sure his echo. What's going on, Dago? How you doing, man? Long time.
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I think I did that right.
Yeah, you're looking good. We should have Twiz joining us with Jenn here any minute.
Was this by invite or was this for anybody? I didn't mean to overstep if I did.
Come on down, sir. Welcome to the Purge.
Okay, I didn't know.
Plenty of room. We're glad you're here. Yeah, I remember that picture, JJ. And wow. The thing is why you made Dago tiny here. Hold on.
That's
why?
Good.
Are you cloning me, Kane? Are you cloning me, bud?
I didn't clone you, I promise. It seems like there's no bounds to the levels they'll go to and not have anything to back anything up. You know what I mean? Like facts don't matter at all, 100%. So,
dude, Bill Thompson convicted a dude of murdering his ex-wife in 1999. The conviction was 2000, but the murder was May 29th, 1999, of a lady that had a uterus, and the woman that was allegedly murdered didn't have a uterus. So facts have never mattered in Lansall County.
Yeah, no, it doesn't seem like a big thing. How you tracking on this whole thing there, Dago?
Oh, good Lord. I'm expecting something coming down the road here pretty soon. What is it? I can't give you an exact on it. I just have feelings there's something coming.
It feels like the other shoe's gonna drop, doesn't it?
Yeah, it definitely does. And I feel like some of it has to do with, I guess, the prosecutorial bullshit that's gone on. Excuse the phrasing, but maybe it'll be exposed and, the whole thing's going to blow up. That would be, I guess, wishful thinking on my part, but something's going to happen. I've had a feeling from the day that the plea was signed, or the day that the plea was agreed to, something's going to happen. I just can't let go of the thought. So I'd like to know.
Agreed.
What do you guys think could be coming?
Well, I don't know.
There's a lot of shit moving, right? There's a lot of ins and outs and a couple what have yous behind the scenes. There's no doubt. I mean, it looked like a fucking war zone there at the hearing to me.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's an understatement.
I know war zone, sir, and that looked like a war zone. I've never seen such an affair. Well, I have. It's just been a long time.
The thing that bugged me was the how can I put it? It was very scripted, okay? And I'm not trying to go down a hole here. I'm just saying the way he answered everything, the way everything was laid out seemed very scripted to me, and it was just off. It was off to me.
Yeah, nothing seemed right to me either. And again, like even all the nonsense, the whole, Thompson starts off his little spiel with, we're going to have some new information here. And there was no new information.
Nothing. He read us the PCA. You're right.
Something he already argued himself out of court. And again, Kane and I have discussed many times how he argued the whole 12 times stalking out of court. And then he decided later to double down and call it 23 times.
Yep. Yeah, that was a big old bowl full of bullshit. Sorry.
I mean, it is. It's exactly what it is. This is not. So we here in America, we have a public court system that things should be known publicly. And I agree with Steve G when he says that gag orders are for matters of national security. So it really begs the question of what is going on in this case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely something deeper going on here that, we could guess on it all day long, and half of us could be right, the other half could be wrong. It is what it is, but there's definitely not. This is not your typical everyday murder case. And the way this all went down, it just makes no sense. None of it does. Nothing at all about it does.
And the forensics are a joke. everything they've done as far as a law enforcement investigation is an utter joke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There was no investigation.
Right.
It was not a real investigation, folks.
It was a non-investigation, if you will.
Yeah. It was. I don't understand it. I don't think anybody does, to be honest with you. Even the guilters, I think, are. I got to say I guarantee you they at least look at it sideways. They can believe what they believe, that Bryan was guilty, so on and so forth. But I know that I've seen them question things that have gone on. So,
you obviously follow a lot of true crime cases. I've watched some of your shows over there when Kane joined y'all on some of your Idaho4 discussions. I definitely enjoy your co-host Jesse's viewpoints on these matters.
Yeah,
always invite him as well. I think he's on a different time schedule though, right? So he's never quite available.
Yeah, he's about 12 hours off from us. Yeah, he's in Thailand.
Yeah. So, but have y'all ever seen, you or Jesse, ever seen or discussed any matters over on your show, your programs over there, that you see a U.S. attorney who, technically resigns even though Trump really fires him, right? Which is kind of an unprecedented move, firing all U.S. attorneys. The last person to do that was Bill Clinton, and that was the day before Vince Foster's body was found in Fort Marcy Park in Washington, D.C. That's a different story altogether. But have you ever seen a U.S. attorney then suddenly take over a prosecution like this?
Never.
It's one of the most unprecedented things I've ever witnessed.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting. I don't know. That's a good point to bring up too. It seems to me, and I think Steve even said it, as much of what he puts out is misinformation. He made a statement and said that when they brought in this special prosecutor, okay, when that became an issue, it seems like everybody ran. Okay, everybody took off, everybody was done, and all this like boom, 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 it all happened real quick after that all went to the table. Do you believe that there's a connection there?
I think there is, but what are your thoughts on the special prosecutor? Do you think that was ever objective or sincere in the first place?
I don't know. That's another good question. I've thought about that.
Because looking back now, it seems even less sincere than it did to me on its onset.
Oh.
It's a good way for them to wrap the situation they've wrapped up right here, right?
It was never reapproached. So, yeah,
Right.
I have to agree with you in that sense. It was either that. It seems like once that became, like I said, became an issue, and a few of these other things came out of the woodwork. Boom, let's do this. Let's get this done. Let's move on. It's out. I'm out. You know what I'm saying? And it kind of feels like I've never seen a plea done that fast in my life. Hitler himself said, "I'm just as surprised as you. I just found out about it Monday." That kind of stopped me for a minute. Is it true? I don't know, but I'm going to take his word on that. There's too many of these things that are sticking out that are just I'm not comfortable with.
Oh, I totally agree, sir. And I don't know how it's a legally binding plea when Thompson stands up there and says that he had no intent, but yet is pleading to first degree. It can't be first degree without intent.
Right.
By the nature of the law.
Yep. I agree with you, sir. I do agree. His own words condemn his thoughts, in my opinion.
JJ,
Yeah, I try to use folks' own words against them because I'm not trying to weigh my opinions necessarily, but these are what they say. Again, when Brett Payne files an affidavit and then later testifies it was a joint effort, even though he signs it without a notarized signature, I have to ask, is that even a legally binding document?
I have to agree with you. And how many of those documents do you think that have been done that way are legally binding? You got to ask that question too. It makes you wonder.
If you compare Blaker's affidavit over in Washington State, Whitman County, for the search warrant for the probable cause of a search for Kohberger's apartment, well, it's almost identical. He added a few more things in there that what I would expect to see in Payne's version of his affidavit. Yep. And Blaker got his notarized.
Absolutely. Agree. We were just trying to look at that the other day. We couldn't find it. But yeah.
I got a copy I can send to you if you give me your email.
Absolutely. I'll throw it in the chat right now, bro.
No problem.
Yeah, we were looking at that, trying to find it the other day to go over it because we wanted to compare the two. And I got a lot of questions about that too. So speaking of that, do you think that the gag is going to be lifted after sentencing, or do you think it's going to be another excuse to hold it down?
I don't expect us to learn a single further detail in these matters.
Gotcha.
I mean, I know they lifted the gag order in the Richard Allen case, and I can see a lot of comparisons, especially within the political pressures, but I don't see that happening here.
Mm-hmm. I got you. Hey, Dinky.
Dinky says it feels like I'm walking on eggshells everywhere I go. You got to watch out around here. These streets are rough. Did you guys say that the courtroom was like a war zone? Did you?
Yeah.
Dude, the outside of the courthouse, they must have had every officer on duty, including the Gooch's twin sister must have been present for duty that day.
Yeah, Twiz said that the security level was way higher than normal.
It's nuts. You could see it when the interviews with Steve G, and in every angle, there was armed officers, vests, and rifles everywhere.
Yeah, definitely. And there was four marshals, I believe, standing at the courtroom door on the inside.
Yep.
That's a bit much, So I think there was an expectation of something. Yeah, I don't know.
I suspect they got threatened. The courthouse and the proceedings were threatened by third parties.
Most definitely, I agree with you on that. And it's known that different people had been threatened on both sides of the tracks of that situation too. So there again, you got to wonder who and why, and well, probably not why, but who, and what if that has any bearing on. Well, I think it does. Has a little bearing on what Bryan decided to do that day as well. Excuse me.
Yeah, I suspect he has a lot of visibility on things that have occurred that we have no idea about.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm waiting for that beast to rear its head up. It's like the Kraken is circling the ship. But at the same time, it was high security. It was a lot of tension. But at the same time, all the players, it was like watching a zombie TV show. I mean, it was just like Lewiston. Everybody's just staring straight forward. Very little emotion. Beyond BK and the whatever.
Yeah, dude.
Very scripted. Right.
Yeah, Thompson looked like he was nervous as can be. His face was redder than mine. Looked like the hue of a fire hydrant.
Yeah.
And no one looked comfortable. And there was no party in anyone's regard of the state, despite it being closure allegedly for them.
The only person I thought that looked comfortable was Ann, who had a smile on her face the whole time. And I don't know if that was a nervous smile or if it was a I know something you don't know smile or what. But it was interesting.
I interpreted it as because she wasn't necessarily smiling the whole time, but when there was key points in the hearing, then she did have that kind of like, we're gonna get you with this one smile. It was like, I know something you don't know. JJ, if you could share a smaller picture so JJ or Dago doesn't go down to micro.
Is that what's going on here?
I think so, yeah.
You got out-gooched, Dago. I apologize.
Oh, I don't mind, guys. You can make me a thumbnail for all I care.
Well, another thing, as far as what I find queer about the whole thing is that they're not interested in what would normally be done in just an investigational interview would be to find out if this person that they've accused does know the details of the incident, and my money's on he doesn't. You can bet that he doesn't. Would you agree with that, or
you believe he does know who's involved, possibly?
That's a good question too. But I'm saying, like, do we know how many stab wounds that each person got in 7 minutes, and what parts? Stuff that only the police would know. That's what they typically do when they interview, because there's been a lot of people that do the copycat thing, or they take credit for a crime that they didn't do for whatever reason. And so that's become a part of procedure, is for you to ask, which is a qualifying interview, to ask, what are the details? What were they wearing?
I would have, I agree with you. I think that should have been part of this plea. It should have had to have been done in some sense, at least the minimal part of that, yes.
That's standard because the state doesn't want to face future liabilities for incriminating the wrong person. So
Right.
that's
Where's
standard.
the knife or something that nobody else would know? You know what I mean? And it didn't. Not a word was spoken. That blew my mind.
Well, the fact that it doesn't matter to them, that they just want to take the guilty plea and run with it, it is alarming.
They were in such a hurry that day, Kane. Did you notice how fast the sentencing was dropped? Like, we can do it like on the 22nd, 23rd. Let's do it now. And the weird thing was the defense was like, I'm good. Let's do it. That was too quick for me.
Yeah, there's no vetting process whatsoever for them. They just got the gears in motion. They've got the firing squad thing already passed, and they're ready to put him in front of it. And the thing is, with this plea deal is Hitler has the right to make his own decision when it comes the 23rd or whatever, and he could still implement the firing squad if he wants to. So it really goes to show you that there's absolutely no hope of a win for the defense on this, you know?
Yeah, I agree. It's a very strange and odd and it's somewhat scary situation in my opinion because of the way everything happened. I still
frightening.
Beyond frightening. The pre-sentencing investigation was completely blown off. Everything. They went boom, we're here, it's done. You got to wonder why. Why did you want this done so fast? Like I said, I wonder if there was a worry on the prosecution side of this, if this prosecutor exists, that they're going to start exposing certain things, and they wanted him convicted beforehand. I don't know. I mean, these are just guesses I'm throwing out here, but it makes. I haven't slept a full night since the plea hearing. I'll be honest with you because I can't stop.
Ditto. I will ask, has anybody heard about the rumor that Steve G was allegedly chasing the van, BK's prison van down and yelling at him? Has anybody vetted that or anything? Or
no, but from what else I've heard, he was threatening Brian's parents, for Christ's sakes, in the one interview, talking about, we got your flight records, we know what you're doing, and things like that. What the hell is that all about?
Very aggressive, too. Very aggressive.
That's
very
crazy.
Aggressive. There's a welcoming package going to be waiting for you probably. I've been in contact with inmates like, dude, you're going to end up in there with him. Keep saying this shit,
Yeah, we'll see what kind of daycare he gets in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's obviously not right or not happy. And I'm telling you, Steve is very unhappy, in my opinion, because they made promises to him that they didn't fall through with. In his interview, I can't remember which one it was for sure, but he made a statement and said that he had thought at one point about dropping the state charges, which he couldn't do, and going federal in lieu of, for Kbls. That's up to the state and all that. But the way he was talking is he could do it all himself. And
I think if they couldn't get his plea through, I think Hurwitz would have done that.
Yeah, agreed. And they said, no, Steve, we got it. State or federal level, this is going down. He's going to the chair, whatever it is, the death penalty. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We got it. And here we are. And that's why he's so pissed. He was used. I think they used him to run their narrative all the way to the grave. Okay. And at this point, he's pissed. He was lied to. He was used, and he knows that. And it's kind of unnerving because the guy is a loose cannon, and it kind of worries me as to what he could or may do. What he needs to do is go to the DOJ and see if they can figure out a way for the feds to pick this up and run it the whole way. Because we looked into it, and I think they can do that. If there's a good enough reason, the feds can pick this up and throw him back into the trial, and there it is. But I don't know the ins and outs of that, obviously.
Joy25 is asking if anyone has verified the letter from Bicca Barlow, and I'll let Twiz handle that when he gets up here. He must have stepped out for a second because I texted him. I haven't heard back from him.
He needs 7 minutes.
Do you believe it?
I believe it now. Yeah, after Miss Peterson's live last night, She said, well, she claims that she has a direct connection with him via text somehow, which I wasn't aware of, and that it was published through a third party. So, you know, if you're using probably like an old flip phone or something that you would have in jail, then I could see where the misspellings and stuff like that would come. So, I don't know. The odd thing about it that was upsetting was a good friend of the show and of Twiz's instantly called him out, tried to discredit him and called him a liar, which I felt like was really jumping the pony, and so I'll let him address that, Joy, when he gets that, because he knows he can explain it better than I do.
I would like to know, because I did question the way it was written, and I'm like, I don't think Bicca would write that like that, but I see what Annie just said, that it's not from Bicca, and then it was confirmed. So thank you, Miss Potts. I appreciate knowing that very much. Because I wanted to know. I was questioning that. I
didn't hear that. Thanks, Annie. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, there's just a lot of crazy whirlwind type stuff that's just happening all at once. And then you question what's going on in Coeur d'Alene, you know, and you have other events throughout the country that it's like distraction or part of it. I don't know. What do you think about the firefighter situation? You think there's a connection there? Sometimes it takes 30 seconds, Jen. Let me see where you are, and I'll double check. Yeah, when there's multiple guests, I see you back there. You're here. Just give it a second, and we'll be able to hear you on. Sorry about that. And then we got Jen, and then we'll have Twiz. I'm sure Jen is absolutely busting at the seams right now. You know what I'm thinking, Jage? Maybe if you just put a piece of tape over your camera instead of sharing the picture, it would give the other guests a fair amount of size, if you don't mind.
I will be happy to do that. I will also be happy to smoke on camera.
Yeah, I know. And YouTube would just love to disable my video also as well, like they've done with tried to do with the last 3. I got 3 out of 4 on the ad liability, Dago. I don't know why they are. I try to maintain a tight ship here, but they're all over me. Every single video. They don't even wait an hour. It's like as soon as it's published. Jen, are you there?
How about that?
That's crazy.
That's great. Yeah, no, it's been ongoing for the last at least 3 months. So I think that
it sounds like somebody doesn't like you, and they're purposely throwing you to the wolves.
Right, because sometimes I'll do a Friday show and there'll be nothing, and then all of a sudden on Monday, boom, there's a need a review, and it's like, what? Oh, here we go. What's this? Hold on, sorry. There's Jen. Hey, Jen.
Run that up.
You can't hear me. I keep talking.
You gotta wait 30 seconds.
It's been over 30 seconds, but okay, no problem.
Wait, you can stay on the phone too. Can you guys hear her okay?
It's echoing. No, I'm not doing all that.
It's echoing.
No Caroline today. No Caroline.
Okay, try a different browser maybe, or a half browser. Thanks.
I think he's cloning you, Jen. Watch out. I think he's cloning you.
You ever use StreamYard, dude?
Yeah, I do, and it's very jittery on my computer. I haven't tried it with this new camera yet, but I've for the most part I've had pretty good success. You got in here pretty easily. Miss Potts started a anti-OBS petition at work to try to get me to StreamYard, but yeah, some people have trouble with it. Some just come right in. So I don't know. I can do a lot of extra special effects and stuff in here.
I figured that's what you were using with all your background stuff. Yeah, I just didn't have the patience for OBS. Too many layers for me. I just want it simple as it can be.
Yeah, I mean, StreamYard would be better if I had the paid version or whatever, I think, too. Because it's pretty basic when you have, like, you can only have, like, one guest at a time, I think. And
well, the the free version give me, because whenever my bill runs late, sometimes I end up on that. When it gives you six guests on panel, and you actually get a pretty decent amount until you run out the hours, of course. But you know, whatever works for you, bro. Whatever works for you.
As long as you're happy with it, Kane, it'll be fine. Oh man, yeah, no. You guys were covering a case today. I know you were talking about the Texas thing today. And what are your thoughts? I was really nervous. I thought my brother might have been affected because my niece just had a baby and all that kind of stuff, and they're in Round
That's
Rock.
wild. It is wild, very wild, and it's sad.
What exactly happened? It seems like it's mostly just hills and lowlands there. To get such a flood, it's weird.
Well, here's the thing, and I didn't find out till towards the end of me talking about it. One of my mods pulled it up, Alicia, and showed me that a lot of people were saying that, well, you know, there was no warning and it happened quick, which it did. It did. Guess what, though? The day before, National Weather Service was throwing out warnings, pre flood warnings and you need to evacuate type stuff all through the whole day before into the night. So there was a lot of pre-warning to this, and there was no excuse, especially in that Camp Mystic with those girls. They should have been moved immediately as soon as that was put out there. These are other people's kids. You don't take that type of risk and the chances that they took with this. No, and it's just that part of it's disgusting to me. They should have immediately jumped on that situation and evacuated right away that Thursday night, or even that Thursday afternoon, because they put it out Thursday morning that there was issues. And at that point, no, there's no excuse. So very unhappy about that part.
Yeah, because you think about it, like when we went to camp as kids, I mean, it's just an innocent summer camp. You're sending your kid to summer camp, and then the next day you hear that there's oh man, it is. And some of the rescue stories are absolutely amazing.
Did you hear the one, the girl in the tree?
The girl in the tree, and I was gonna say I haven't really, and I don't know where everybody stands in this, but if I remember correctly, referring to the Bible and Revelations, that there would be 3 miracles before the second coming. And I would say that the guy surviving the Air India crash was one. And then these people are calling that girl out of the tree another one. So I would be like, but we're one away. You better make peace with your creator right now, whoever that may be, you know, and, you know, your family, because, I mean, it's not just Idaho that's in a big giant whirlwind, you know. It's is that Love Tina's in here? Hello, Love Tina. Nice to see you.
Yeah.
And Dinky, if you want to come up, you can. What happened to Jage? Yeah. You still there, Jage?
Is this the Purge? The Purge?
Slam
tango. I was enjoying fine doobie, sir. I have enjoyed my doobie, and I'm back. Yes.
Looks like Twiz joined us back there too.
Dude.
Unless
Jenn go, Twiz go. I'll step down if those two want to come up for a few. I'll hang out in the chat.
It looks like I was telling Jen that she had her mic muted. Now she's unmuted it. And are you on your phone, Jen? Is that what it is? I think she's on her phone. Maybe that's the problem. I don't know. But now she's unmuted it. And then I see audio from... Is that Twiz in there? Or is it Dinky? Hello. I see there's audio. There it is. There's Twiz. What up, bro?
Yo.
Twiz.
What's up, brother?
Sir.
Welcome to the Tiny Dago show.
What's happening?
Not a mooch. Me and
What's
Jake
up, bro?
are giants tonight. Sorry about that, Jake.
Kane, you better not be cloning me, sir. If you start cloning me, I'm out of here, bud.
I am so tempted. My finger's on the trigger, but I'll be a good boy.
Dude, you're always cloning me, dude. I'm not surprised. You're always plotting on cloning me.
Why don't you snap into a sidebar, sir?
Oh, you need a sidebar. I got you. Get yourself a breakfast sidebar if you're really hungry in the mornings. Start the day off right.
Full of lawyer-packed nutrients. And niacin.
Long day at the court. Grab a sidebar.
If only they had sidebars. Maybe that's why they took the plea.
There you go.
So
It's your guys' fault.
Is that Ann saying that it wasn't from Bicca Barlow? Is that what she's saying there, Diego?
Wait, huh?
Annie Potts, was she saying that the message wasn't from Bicca Barlow?
Yeah, she said it wasn't. Well, that's what she said in the chat. It wasn't from Bicca. That she doesn't know why Bicca's name was on it. So I don't know any more about it other than what I just saw in here. Any thoughts there, Mr. Twizzy?
Brian says it's legit, so
Really?
I don't know.
Wow. I was a little off by the writing and the way it was written. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so basically what we've gathered is after the hearing, he was in the room with his family for like a minute. And either he wrote it down and they typed it in somewhere, or he said it and they typed it in somewhere. But
let me reiterate. I don't want to ever misword anything Miss Potts says. She said, I said Annie Peterson did not confirm that it was put out by Bicca. Thank you again, Miss Potts. Sorry, guys, if I misstated it. I didn't mean to. But again, still, I don't know. I'm definitely enthralled by it. I'll put it that way.
I was reading something about the firefighters from Becky.
Here at the Purge, we like to talk about the occasional Idaho4 news, a lot of fast food stuff, and dead air.
I invented dead air, actually.
Dead air.
So I kind of looked at the situation. It's not my final opinion on the matter, but I looked at the situation up there at the firefighter business. One man did not commit that onslaught of terror in them woods with all them shots. I'll just leave it at that.
You're not the first person I've heard say that.
I listened to some of the audio from the responding firefighters and the calls for law enforcement, etc. You can hear just the rate of fire and whatnot. I can hear it even in the audios. I'm a 20-year military police fella from senior non-commissioned officer from the Air Force, pretty well skilled in combat and firearms. So I was a teenage SWAT team leader. But nonetheless, that's bullshit. Not one man did that.
Do you think they know that?
I 100% know. They definitely know that. There's no way that there's any misconceptions on that. And I see a lot of parallels again around these same circumstances revolving around that same Hayden Lake compound and domestic terror events every 10 years.
Yeah.
Dating back to at least the 80s.
Yeah, I saw the link between the I think you just probably mentioned it. The anniversary of the other place that was there being burnt down.
Yeah, and the shooter's father is a Satanist Nazi character. It's not my words or anything. I just off his own pictures, his own tattoos, and his own words himself. So I do have some questions regarding those matters when you have such a close connection to the dates, the activities, and such a relationship such as that.
Right. Gotcha. Any thoughts on that one, Twiz?
I don't really know much about it other than there was a stabbing in Coeur d'Alene yesterday. Don't know if it's related.
Interesting.
Was it a K-bar?
I don't know.
Did it have a military logo?
Or something. Somebody was saying it was like an old folks home. I don't know.
Good God.
Crazy shit happens all over the place.
I bet you one thing I can guarantee. They probably didn't take a report. They never do.
That's how they keep those statistics down.
They never do. I would hope on that they at least did on that, but typically they don't.
Well, they didn't even take a report. Apparently, I was looking at some information earlier from the Underworld Intelligence Agency of Lucy Morningstar that they didn't even take a report with giving the dog back to Jack DeCore the next day.
Yeah, was that you that played that phone call about with the person calling in? Was it an officer trying to locate the Murphy dog?
Who you asking, sir?
Dago. I want to say it was Dago that played that video. Oh, it was Christian Nevada. We can actually watch that. Let me see if I can pull it up here while you guys talk here. Christian Nevada. Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. It's like another FOIA request, I think, that Christy got. Is Christy in here? Let me see here. Wow, I've never gotten euros. Thank you for the euros. That was cool. That translates probably into $10 for the show there. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate that.
I think the euro is pretty well versed against the U.S. dollar these days.
Yeah. Where's Christy? Here, hold on.
Yeah, dude. $1 to $1. Dude, they're doing better than we are, dude. Better than we are.
Are they though? Really? It seems like
€1 equals $1.17, sir.
Canada is also strong against the U.S. dollar, from what I understand.
Yeah, they're doing stronger stuff than they used to be. That's for damn sure. I remember when Canada used to get back when I used to do a lot of Canada business, a couple decades ago, up in Alberta and whatnot, Calgary and Lethbridge regions, perhaps some Edmonton. You get a long way with your U.S. dollar back then. Not so much anymore.
Yeah, there a lot of them they're Swamp Rose. Here we go. Sorry about that. Okay, let's see. I remember just about where it was, if we can find it here. Yeah, this is from her show this morning.
Oh, that's terrible, dude.
Buffering, dead air. What is it? What happened? Jen, are you still having trouble over there?
Here at the Purge, we enjoyed talking about fast food, type 2 diabetes, the occasional Idaho4 case discussion, and dead air.
Should I get back into some diabetes news? I think I don't know why this isn't loading.
I thought you were playing a clip. I don't know what was going on.
Yeah, I'm trying.
I'm grabbing a cup of coffee real quick, guys. I'll be right back.
Right on. Left off at Trellis. Where is the Christine Nevada thing? Oh, this is something I thought was interesting. While you're up here, and it's just you and I and Twiz, JJ. Apparently, one of our favorite places on Earth, there in Guyana, the Jonestown massacre site, where over 900 people lost their lives, is now open as a theme park for tourism.
Yep.
Welcome to the People's Temple, Jonestown. The Guyana site.
Have you ever read the Yelp reviews for Auschwitz? People go to Auschwitz for tourism, dude, and the Yelp reviews are outrageous.
And they leave a Yelp review for Auschwitz?
Oh, dude, it's some wild shit on there, man.
Have you ever read the Amazon reviews for like the 50-gallon bottles of lube?
No, but it's kind of dark. They would even have these ideas of this tourism is kind of dark, though, right? This Auschwitz or Jonestown shit.
A U.S. senator lost his life there, right?
Frank Church.
With the approval of the Guyanese government,
that was the church committee.
Is offering a Jonestown tour to tourists, including flights to the Guyanese capital of Georgetown and an hour-long van trip that you might not come back from to the sparse remains of the People's Temple sediment. I wonder if they'll serve Kool-Aid as refreshments.
It was Leo Ryan. He was the congressman out of California. Some of his constituents had solicited him because their children were recruited into the cult.
Oh, so they had a vested interest. Jackie Spear survived the attack, and she took it a couple times. Leo Ryan lost his life. to investigate claims. Yeah, the movie is incredible. There's another Powers Booth movie for you right there. That is really
legendary actor Powers Booth.
Good movie, I agree.
Boys from Brazil.
I enjoyed him in
yeah.
Tombstone. Quite honestly, that was a good one of his as well.
Yeah, he kind of stepped out of the spotlight for a while, and then kind of made a triumphant return. I guess you'd say like what's his name did in The Wrestler or whatever. But
how dare you besmirch the acting career of Powers Booth, sir?
I knew that was coming. Oh, it's a long tumble down to the bottom, Twiz. Yeah,
So-
wow, what a wild thing, man. Jonestown tourism. You got to figure there's some kind of lost soul wandering around there, and it's got to be haunted in some way. 900 people lost their lives all at the same time, and they weren't wearing purple tracksuits either. So,
Well, that's a lot of souls to be floating around for nowhere.
And that Kool-Aid tale is bullshit. A lot of them got shot.
I had heard that as well.
Yeah, Mae Brussel did some legendary coverage of this contemporary to those events. Her and her underling Dave Emery. Those things are still available on the interwebs.
see if we can get Jenn up here again. I better.
So going back to the question that you asked me, Kane. Like, do either you or JJ have any thoughts on what could be coming or when or any of that stuff? You think?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see anything or hear anything in the sentencing. They're just going to wrap it up like they did this last hearing, and that'll be it.
I was surprised the last hearing lasted that long.
Yeah,
Right.
It was a lot longer than I thought too.
Well, you have to take into account that Judge Hippler, for some reason, asked the prosecution and the defense if they had any objection to him releasing the non-dissemination order now. And so if he asked, then maybe it was exactly like you guys said. It seemed like a walkthrough of procedure that they'd already pretty much handled the business, and they just needed to do it for the public, and it's like getting married
for sure.
again when your parents aren't there or something like that.
Well, I don't know about that,
But
oh, you're saying having a second wedding because it's kind of like that, I suppose. No, I mean they were just doing a show, man. Like they're like, we got to go through these checks on this checklist to make this look legit, and as lack of legitimacy it is indeed from all directions. Again, it's the when I was saying earlier, it is freakishly frightening because how can you convict anyone of any crimes with such little evidence? And I know I'm obviously being somewhat hyperbolic, but they literally published a PowerPoint and said, this is the public evidence we're going to produce in convicting Bryan Kohberger of these crimes.
What did you guys take from Hitler's, I guess, his reactions to this? Did you get anything at all, if anything?
I don't think he believes that bullshit.
Thank you. That's my thought too. He seemed a little out of sorts as he was receiving the answers he was. If that's a good, I guess that's the way I'm trying to put it. Definitely seemed like he was kind of disbelieving, I'll say. I do agree, sir.
I feel.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much weird shit going on there. You'd figure again the state would be happy about bringing these matters to a close, but they didn't seem very happy.
No.
Although Brett Penn got a nice sheen on top of that dome piece of his. Cool shine that day.
Somebody said he was sitting on a booster seat.
He had to have been. He was just as tall as Maori.
Speaking of, did you ever see that video? Any of you? Somebody sent it to me, and I watched it the other day. I can't remember which hearing it was. It was obviously the one where they had put Payne on the stand, and he went to leave, and Hitler asked him to come back. He had a question, and Jesus. And afterwards, he was done. He goes and sits down, and Jennings and him seem to be texting each other. Did you ever see that video?
Yeah, I think you're talking about the May 2024 hearing.
I believe, yeah. He picks up his phone from sitting next to him, starts texting. Ashley's phone, she picks it up. She starts texting. They both put their phones down at the same time. And I was like, that's kind of interesting to me. Kind of interesting.
Jage, did you take that picture down? I hope
I did.
Thank you, man. Are you trying to give me more work and headache than I need?
That could be the reason why they take your videos down, bro.
Listen.
Hey, man,
it's AI that's attacking me, I assume. I don't want to give them any
tourist attraction.
Right.
Promote the new tourist attraction.
Well, I just want to throw it out that apparently the FBI is listening in on people's phone conversations. And if they are that interested in Bryan Kohberger, they are definitely getting involved in YouTube.
Oh, for
they
sure,
have been
dude.
for a while. They have been.
I'm sure they've been here all along.
Dude, the FBI threatened Daniela Vargas, the DNA expert, in the August 2023 hearing, telling her that basically telling her to recant her testimony. And the story of how they even got to her front door is bullshit. They had to have been monitoring her communications in some regard.
Right.
That's when everybody should have said, okay, there's a problem right then and there.
100%.
I mean, we all did say there was a problem then.
Well, I'm saying for those that didn't, I definitely didn't. I know you did. So yeah, that proved right there that there's weird shit going on in the background of this.
Well, and if you look at it with the way Bill Thompson wants to sell it now, that they're ready to go to trial in October of 2023. Well, go fuck yourself, Bill, because that's obviously not the case. I'm going to sign up for the Hippler's Friends and Family program, Kane, and send it back their way.
I forgot what I was going to say now. There should have been, like I said, the allocation of what he did, accountability. CG has a great point there. If you're going to take the plea, that's what so many things about that plea don't fit, that it makes me believe that it's just a tactic to get time or to do something. So I'm gonna hope in one hand, and we'll see whether Willie's completely jumped the ship on Kohberger's innocence now.
Werewolf Willie or Willie?
Malacca Willie.
He was in my show this morning. I haven't got to talk to him since. So what? He believes that Bryan is guilty now, huh?
Yeah, it's just impossible to plead guilty if you're innocent.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the deal. Nothing has changed. No dynamic has changed. No additional evidence was produced. The evidence that was proven to be bullshit and argued by the state to be such was then used in the hearing in Bill Thompson's dialogue to be used as evidence against Kohberger.
You're going to see something you've never seen before, but let me read this to you word for word. Exactly what you saw. Jesus, ridiculous.
What happened?
Absolutely ridiculous.
Is that me?
No, that was me. Sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna call Jenn just to get her up here, because I know she's got a lot to say.
Is this the purge? Are we purging?
Yeah, I'm gonna 10-100 real quick, and I'll be back.
I give up.
We're just gonna put you on the phone, Jenn. It's fine.
No, because there's gonna be a delay. I'm not doing that.
Well, you're on already. You're fine.
Yeah, but I can't hear anybody else because if I unmute it, then it's gonna be echo. You understand? We did this before. We tried this before. Not
Jenn, get a computer.
Don't trigger me. You know, Carol Ann triggers me.
Didn't you get headphones? I thought you had headphones.
No.
You don't have headphones?
I don't know. I have earbuds somewhere, but
okay.
I don't know.
Well, just say your piece. I'm gonna step away. I'll be right back, guys. Okay. Hold it down
what
for
the
me.
hell?
Well, I got to do things.
No, I gotta go.
Okay, you don't have anything you want to add to the conversation?
I do, but it's just I'm not doing it this way. I'm aggravated already. You already triggered me. You need to just get StreamYard and just get over this ninja shit. It's not working.
Howdy, Jenn. Welcome to the purge.
I tried it 18 times at least.
I guess she can't hear us.
I can't hear anybody talk. That's what I'm saying. So it's like I'm just talking to myself.
Well, just throw out a couple thoughts. I'll be right back. Do what you got to do. I'll be back.
Bye.
All right.
Is she gone?
Yes.
She's gone.
Oh, no. All right.
She's a quitter.
Maybe next time.
So-
I don't disagree with her statements. This system sucks, Kane. You always try to clone me in here, dude. I don't like that. I don't like being cloned.
I'll help you. I'll help you set it up, dude. You won't have all the background stuff, but it'll work for you.
Well, I've offered to help him too. Apparently, I looked into it, and you can run all this stuff through StreamYard in a similar capacity.
You can. There's a lot more stuff. They're adding things new like all the time, and they've really, of course, they've raised their prices through the roof too. But they've come up a lot. They can do a lot, and it's so much easier than this stuff. I'm not complaining about it. This is his form, but it's so hard to deal with this. That's why I never used it.
It seems like a lot. I'm a man of simplicity. I like to just do the fewer tasks as possible.
That is me. You log in, and bing, bang, boom, you're on. That's it.
Yep.
That's all you got to do. You know what I mean?
I don't like technology. I'm not a fan.
I don't blame you.
Just because new technology gets invented, I don't feel obligated to incorporate in my life, and I'm dating this back to an answering machine. So if you leave me a voicemail, for example, odds are, in fact, I will never check it, and therefore probably never get it.
Got you.
Yeah, voicemail's kind of backward technology at this point, for sure.
Well, I started that policy in DC because I got tired of folks calling my office. So I just figured if I let my voicemail fill up, then they can't leave me any voice messages.
That's a good strategy. My buddy has Windows DOS, and he calls it computer security through obsolescence.
Yep.
Because he figures that the feds don't, or the criminals don't have the backward technology. Anyway, I wanted to bring something up that is important to everybody in here, but doesn't seem to matter to the courtroom for some reason, or to law enforcement at all. Is look how much that we found looking at Grub Truck, looking at Linda Lane, listening to Linda Lane.
I'm curious. What did we discern from these? Because I never really put much value into many of these videos.
There, in my opinion, is a lot there, and you have key players. We've written off Showalter, the hoodie guy, and all this thing prematurely, and for some reason, none of that seems to come into play or matter. Or if you want to really get technical, all the different DNAs that were left in the house are now irrelevant.
Right. But may I ask you a question? How those two things connect? Well, I agree with you. We see these videos with Showalter in gang, but we also see these through leaked times through integral portions of a non-investigation, which to distract us from these matters. And while I'm not saying that they may not be relevant, I'm saying why are these things leaked in the time in which they're leaked specifically?
All part of the smoke and mirrors game.
Yep.
Well, look at the source of the Grub Truck. Yeah, right. You got Olivia.
We don't know the events that transpired from that entire day preceding the murders. We don't know where any of these people were. We've been given a bunch of bullshit and varying degrees of storylines and chronology of events, et cetera, and so forth. We don't know where any they were. We don't know that the murder occurred at that home. We don't know when the murders occurred. They could have occurred at a different location at a different time.
I've always said I think that it would be great to be a fly on the wall to see what went on for the week before these murders in their lives. Truly, I think that could give a lot of answers to a lot of questions that are out there.
I don't disagree, sir, because it seems that Dylan Mortensen invited Kelly Gonzalez for the weekend on that Thursday.
She did. She went to her parents' house after calling her and not getting a straight answer. She physically went to her parents' house and said, "I need you to come back to be my plus one." She could have chosen anyone, but she picked Kaylee, and I've always had a problem with that.
No, and you should, because that's a very integral part in this whole thing to understand the victimology of these matters. And you do need to know the events that day, the events that transpired the weeks before and the month before, definitely. And
yes.
And I think that's very important to understand that this whole, if there is a drug trafficking angle to this, and there, so first of all, how do any of these students, be it Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Ethan Chapin or Xana Cornell go attend any sorority or fraternity event after they all have departed their own sororities and fraternity.
Right. I don't know what
That
the
story
rules
don't
are.
check out. They don't
Yeah,
check out to me. They don't let you into these parties if you're not part of the crew anymore.
I mean, I've asked that question years ago, and I was told alumni this and alumni that, but I don't
alumni.
I don't
They quit.
consider
Once you take the butt chugging oath, you're part of the butt chuggers.
Yeah, but when you quit, what happens?
Yeah, but they still took that butt chugging oath.
Yeah, but if you, like he's saying though, I don't know, Twiz. I mean, if you leave like you're supposed to, just like with the military, you know what I'm saying, and not quit, are you still considered alumni if you quit? That's what I mean.
I don't think
Did they
so.
take the blood chugging oth? Butt chugging oath?
Yeah, dude, but it's a blood in, blood out situation. I think is what you're referring to. Is
yeah. That's
all I'm saying is the oath. You know they were in.
Well,
yeah, but I don't think they'd be allowed at these parties. I don't buy that tale. I don't think Dylan Mortensen was an actual sorority member. I've actually argued this through various circumstantial evidence and comparative analysis to an actual event where there was a member over at the Alpha Sigma I hate these damn names. The Alpha Sigma chapter over WASU, Washington State. They had a fake fraternity member was a ringleader of a cocaine yayo trafficking operation. And he was not a member of the school nor the fraternity. You're not a student, not a member of the fraternity. Yet everyone in the Greek system over there thought he was a member of the fraternity outside of the one fraternity house, who all knew he was a fake member. And eventually this stuff got out. He went to prison.
Yeah.
But the whole thing got swept under the rug. But what I'm saying is it wouldn't be the first instance of a fake fraternity or sorority member in this case, perhaps.
Well, she wasn't she, or was she not a freshman that did not live at the house?
So she was allegedly a sophomore, and so she does appear in some of the Pi Beta Phi photographs. However, she does not appear in any of the official photographs. And even in the events where she goes back to a Halloween party there in October of 2023 on the same Pi Beta Phi on the same University of Idaho campus. Meanwhile, Bethany Funk's in Nevada, apparently afraid to come back, but she goes there, and there's a photograph the next day where she's on campus. I can tell from the 2 different nights in between. They do an official Pi Beta Phi photograph at a water tower, and she's not in it. She's not in it again. So what I'm saying is she happens to never be in the official photographs. Now I can make the argument Bethany Funk, Xana Cornetto are both in those photographs. Kaylee Gonzalez was not in that sorority, but nonetheless, it seems that old Dylan Mortensen was perhaps one of these fake sorority members, like that fraternity member at Alpha Sigma. Alpha Sigma would be the same fraternity as, if I'm getting the name right, as the Steve G number 3 was a member at the University of Idaho chapter, and so was Caden Young.
Gotcha.
He was the president of that chapter.
Let me throw a bushcraft into this conversation real quick, because
don't you be cloning me, Kane.
When I talk about what we're missing from the case is the Ethan and Xana Chronicles, and then you have Bethany's whereabouts. But more importantly is, if you have nothing to hide as a fraternity, why do you go back and erase 2 years worth of social media right after the crime? I mean, the timing, it just lends itself to something that should be investigated, right? And then you have the 50 cop cars 2 days later at Sigma Chi. What happened there? It's not listed in anything, and
they don't take report.
No report taken. And what was I saying? The words 50 cop.
Hula Burgers, Lewiston. There were no stickers on the poles. There were no poles in Moscow. You seen that video from Lucy Morningstar?
Yes, yeah, and that's not weird. I feel like Steve G also listed the privileges maybe that they've offered as part of this plea to BK. Like, they get cable TV, he gets internet access, and this may be what's inciting his rage. Because not only will they not be taking his life, they're gonna give him a comfortable stay at that daycare.
Dude, Steve G's full of shit, dude. Come on, man. You're giving him too much credit.
Maybe. I mean, it does seem like somebody's telling him something. It's in my
Here's the
notes.
deal. You mean to tell me he has that opinion? What's his opinion of his brother then, who's in prison for murder?
Right, exactly. It's a contradiction in itself.
Yeah, that's
You
what I'm
have
saying.
a brother
He's
who's
full of it,
in
dude.
prison for the same thing, which was originally an attempted first degree, which turned into a unaliving first degree. But
You sound malnourished, friend. You might need a sidebar.
yeah, I just think you have to take into account the fact that they have no factual evidence. That the lack of evidence against BK is the evidence. His car was too clean. He's guilty.
We heard that. Well, we heard that because no longer are they trying to say he went down I-95 south. Now they're saying he took the back roads. And the reason why they know that for a fact is because they don't have any evidence of him taking I-95, despite that their previous claim was of that.
Yep.
Or he just was never there.
Yep.
Well, there you go. Well, that's obviously the answer, Twiz. I'm just saying, like, they've even adapted a new storyline in their latest narrative, right? Of how they don't have him on camera. Oh, that's because he took the back roads.
I bet they got that from Ann's investigation too, you know?
That's a good point. A very good point.
They jump on the Ann wagon.
They didn't do any of their own work. There was no investigation. We all know that. So come on.
Well, there you go. They have a PowerPoint, sir. It's a very fantastic PowerPoint.
Yeah. I'm sorry. No disrespect intended. You're right.
Oh, that Meowery report.
It's preposterous because even in the end, so Bill's saying, even saying now we were ready to go in October 2023 to go to trial. Well, then you have Meowery from the Meowery report. I just found all these phone files yesterday before that hearing in May of 2024. So they're still withholding all these things. And again, he says, well, I deleted all that stuff. I took some screenshots and I sent them to the prosecutor, and then I put them all on a PowerPoint. But I don't have anything to substantiate this PowerPoint. We don't have lab reports for the DNA. We don't have chain of custody for the knife sheath. We don't have this, but we do have this fantastic PowerPoint.
Of course. Speaking of, now I'm remembering things. Anybody's thoughts on the fact that Mr. Payne now works for the university?
Yeah.
How about that one?
That happened, and here's the thing, Dago, with the shift with Chief Fry over to Washington as the chief, it's like they've made these promises and they're fulfilling these promises, but they don't even wait for the smoke to clear.
No, the body's not even cold. Oh, that was probably a bad one. Sorry.
You're good.
And they're already doing. I mean, he retired, guys. Remember that he retired. Yeah, he did. Everybody. I mean,
just to go work at another one.
Exactly. Roger retired. He retired. How many other officers from Moscow disappeared? They're gone. For what reason? Don't tell me that it's a coincidence, because I don't believe in those. Not in this shit. Sorry.
Are we purging?
Something's wrong.
What's his position at? He got a position at University of Idaho?
Yes.
Yeah, he works for the university now.
Yeah.
What's his role there? Is it in?
That's my understanding.
Chief butt chugger.
He's like the chief of what is
CBC.
it? Like,
they call it the CBC of the executive staff of the university.
Yeah. So it's a security program, isn't it?
I actually don't know what he's doing.
They don't have security. They have cops.
Well, I heard before that's what it was, that because of this, they now have their own actual security.
Yeah, I did hear that also as well.
He's the chief. So, before it was Moscow PD. That was it. If it's true, I don't know. We have no way to vet it.
Yeah, where was this news from? I heard that. Maybe you told me, Kane, about him getting a job.
Well, Trish had called Moscow PD and asking to leave a message or whatever for Detective Payne. And they told her at that time that he no longer worked there. And
what's going on here? I lost Dago on mine, but now I see on YouTube he's still here. I can't hear him or see him.
Hello.
Are you clowning me, Kane?
Maybe you need to turn it off and turn it back on again.
Yeah. I'll do that, sir.
I'm still
I don't know
here.
what's going on right
Grab
now.
yourself a sidebar.
Yeah.
Where were you, Dago? Sorry.
Just talking about the Brett Payne.
Yeah. That it's still. Here's the thing. He's still attending the trials, which is as tradition or whatever. But what accountability will he have? Will he still have to testify? I mean, I can imagine if he's showing up to court every day, that he's still going to have some culpability and have to answer to the responses that he's given. He's still a state's witness, whether he's a Moscow PD officer anymore or not, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He would still have to testify if he was a witness to that situation. Still, yes.
I mean, it just gets more bizarre. I mean, that's why I was saying if this whole thing, JJ, sure, I'm trying to glow him. If one thing had made sense along the way, that's why I was like, okay, if this is the ending, what a perfect fitting ending to an amazingly stupidly crazy case. You know, that he just pleads guilty. I did it. No questions on what happened. Where's the weapon? What was your motive? How did you do it? How did you, they're just going to accept everything that he has to say about, or is it his plea just to get the plea? It doesn't add up, bro.
Well, the fact that he didn't have to allocate is a big deal to me. I truly thought that he was going to have to allocate, at least to some extent, and there was nothing.
Yeah, it makes the plea worthless to me. I mean, okay, you've got your guy, you've got your conviction, but where's the rest of the story that we've all of us about? I really honestly think that with Judge Hippler asking the question of whether or not she'd release the non-dissemination, is that they will release everything, which is nothing really. But it'll still be redacted, in my opinion. All those long paragraphs of blacked out sentences will still be.
Anything we get is going to be completely redacted. I agree with you on that. If it's going to look like the JFK files.
It was Kennedy versus the South in the Civil War.
Right. So I'm expecting that, if anything at all. I'm expecting another excuse.
Well, I mean, you have to admit that with the 2.5 years where we went without nothing, and then I put the timeline, oddly enough, where Rory broke up with us all and quit his channel. Right after that, all of a sudden, it's like you were saying, we were getting documents like it was a part-time job. We just expected them, and then everything's. And when Hurwitz comes in, he clearly blew everybody back to the 9th level of hell. Shushley disappears. You got even Bill Thompson is now sitting there folding his hands, playing tiddlywinks, and he's the only one who's allowed to speak. So everything, it seems like, so far is coming from him, and you wonder if this plea deal was in some kind of pressure that he applied. A lot of people said there was threats against his family, possibly something to cause him to do this. The only thing that I can say that would explain it is maybe he didn't want it to come out what type of porn or whatever he was watching. That maybe he was ashamed. You know what I mean? Did I just make you spit your coffee out?
That would be the part he'd be ashamed of.
Right. I don't know.
Wasn't the murders.
There goes Dago's mic.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate that. I just choked my shit. Thanks.
This is a true crime comedy channel after all, Dagos.
It's all good, brother.
You gotta have a towel ready for those spit takes.
It's all here. Right here. Anyway. That's a good point. It's a good point.
Yeah, I was long-winded there. Go ahead with your thoughts on it, though.
after that, I have nothing else to say. I'm sorry, I don't.
And that's my closing argument, folks. Thanks for watching The Purge. We appreciate you being here.
Yeah. I do have a question though, or I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on the other. I'm sure everybody saw the statements that were put out via the Patterson book that Michael Kohberger had put supposedly within the book, allegedly, I'll say, about having a conversation with his old friend, and that okay, I had it. God, I hate ADHD. It's there. Hold on a minute. Talking about the sheath being planted, that they didn't find it when they say they did, and that then he goes on to make a bigger statement, in my opinion, about there's so many drugs in that house, tons and tons of drugs in that house, however you put it. Anybody's thoughts on that? Because I thought that was quite interesting to come from him, I should say. Or not.
Twiz, what do you think? I was waiting for giving Twiz a chance. Give Twiz a chance. Twiz, you with? I think we might have lost Twiz there. No, I thought that part of it was interesting, but I felt like the whole grocery store backstory of BK being in her house and she didn't hear him come in was just a little too convenient, because if this kid had broken in or stolen something from your house and then he just appears and says he wants to apologize in your house without you hearing him come in, I'm not that familiar with anybody that I can just walk in their house and be like, yay, I'm sorry for what I did. No. And so then to have seen Michael and just approached him, be like, oh, aren't you BK's dad? Blah blah blah. Let's shoot the shit about old times. No, it doesn't sound like you have any good memories with these people. So you know what? I don't know. What makes you an expert, right? This lady and
good question. And then what Jenn just said was another big point in that same statement. Where was Bryan at? If this is true, that he didn't tell them where he was, where is he away to? You know what I mean? That caught my attention too.
Say again. I'm sorry, I missed the loop on that.
Part of that statement that he made was when they were talking about Jeremy dying and things like that. That Bryan was away. He didn't tell us where, but he was away for a period of time. I'd like to know where, because the way that was put out there, it sounded like it was, unless I'm reaching, somewhat secretive. You know, that he was somewhere secretive. You know, was he in rehab at that time?
Yeah.
Was he somewhere else? It was an interesting statement. That's all I was saying with that.
Yeah, it appears Twiz dropped out. Oh, he said he'll be right back. Okay, cool. And Silent G got it. Give Twiz a chance. No, yeah, it just seemed too cozy. Now, another thing is Howard Bloom seems to have changed his position. And I have an interesting thought there, but I wanted to see what you thought about that, actually. Not necessarily change his position, but is sort of kind of seeing the light that something's not right here, stating the obvious, that which obviously I'm gonna.
Well, it came like a baseball bat at the whole world, and I think even Bloom expected him to take this all the way to the finish line, and I think that could be why. You know, I don't think anybody would have ever expected this. We said 2.5 years ago that, you know, everybody knew Bill Thompson's a plea guy, and said, I think most everybody that talked about it said, not in this case. It's not going to happen in this case. I'll be damned. So I don't know. I mean, I think everybody was sideswiped with this. Truly, that's my opinion.
I was making you a mod. Sorry, I thought I might have been a mod. You tried to drop a link in the chat earlier. Now you can do it because I modded you. There you go.
Oh, okay. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Here was welcome to the Purge. Here was the thing about the book writing is that now, and I have all the pages bookmarked, I can show you, they have all these websites where you can literally dictate a story to AI and it will write a book for you. And you know how you've been able to do like photo books and stuff through Apple and all that stuff forever. And now you can literally just sit down with AI, it'll do it. And I'm like, dude, we've got creators that have dug their noses in this as deep as you can go. Let's tell our story, because people, you know, they like to read, and you know, we can provide what appears to be more factual information than they're willing to give even on the TV. You know, let alone these fantasy books that they're writing.
Definitely, I agree.
I think it'd be a good thing, you know, because AR's site is not going to get us another soda. Excuse me, but AR's site isn't that good. I thought it would be a perfect thing for him to be able to dictate a book. I would read that book. You know, he has an interesting take on everything every time I listen to him. And you know, the same goes for you and I. We all have different positions. Excuse me, one sec, Jacob.
Take your time.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of different variations.
I'm not sponsored by Monster, but I do like them. Okay. No, I don't. Would that be something you consider? Because I asked Jage if that's something he wanted to do. He said, I'm not interested in that at all.
Gotcha. That's interesting. I'll say that much. Well, as far as the Patterson book goes, I was gonna boycott that, but I have to read it now. I used to like him. I used to be a fan of his. And when he got all involved in the way he did, I was pissed at him and said, no, I won't read it. But now I have to because of what I saw that far. So, yeah. But,
did you watch the Amazon documentary or whatever yet? Have you? I mean, I watched Jules react to it.
The Peacock one I didn't even know came out. The Amazon one comes out on the 11th. I will be watching that. No, I haven't seen the Peacock one yet. I'm curious. I don't know. I didn't even get to watch Jules, her reaction. So, was there any nuggets in that at all of anything worth anything that anyone knows?
Here's what I feel about the whole thing, and I don't know if you'll agree with it or not, but it's literally they're telling us the exact same story that they've been telling us since the beginning with these alleged documentaries, and all they're doing is including the interviews that they used in the lives of the PCA and all the other stuff. And so it's almost like these things were edited and put together 2 years ago. And they're like, we're just going to stick with that story no matter what. Put it out there for the people. And there are some weird stuff, like as far as Hunter Johnson goes and the look of his health. You know, I don't know. What do you think? Are you still there? Oh, we got you muted, JJ. Or JJ.
Sorry, I did that on accident. So
No
yeah,
worries.
Jesse's pointed that out a few times that Hunter looks like absolute hell, and he puts it. You know, his thoughts are: is he on something? I brought up
have something,
or it could be that I brought up the possibility of stress due to do you know something that you've been holding on to for a couple of years that you can't deal with anymore. There's a lot of different possibilities with that situation because he does look bad. He looks very bad. It could be a couple things, folks, and it really is something that you notice. There's no way you don't. So who knows? Who knows? Is it stress from the loss of his friend? Is it stress due to, you know, what he's been sitting on for 2.5 years? Is it drugs? Is it something else? Who knows? Is he sick? There could be many, many things. Who knows? But there's definitely something to look at there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I honestly feel that love will put up with a lot when you're in love with somebody, you know, you'll talk. But Emily seems to me like a really healthy, level-headed, genuine person. And if there is some kind of involved, it's the only real thing that gives Hunter any accountability. In my books, like they say, when you're married at the office, they respect you more because at least somebody can put up with your bullshit, right? But with him, it's over the line. Something like maybe he's sick, maybe he does have some kind of addiction problem.
Right.
I've never seen him where this was breaking down. I mean, I'm sure it's not easy.
Agreed, definitely.
But
definitely agreed.
You know, for it to break down his health that much, I question that. And Hunter is in Sigma Chi, right?
I believe so, yeah.
And so you have, once again, why is that not question your motivation for I think that's one of the most important things. I think and I was saying it on Sarge's show, is what we need as investigators in our own little thing to find out is who was the most connected, important person that they would cover up and lie and put on the blinders and just take a one-way path towards this one guy. Who are they who would be worth protecting to go this far for?
That's a good question. That is a good question, and I've asked myself that many a time. Somebody in the chat said he's in a different frat, so my apologies if he is. I thought he was in Sigma Chi myself.
Well, some of the other frats, I think, deleted some of their social medias too. I believe. I'm not sure.
I have heard that, and other people came to me, told me they were looking for things they couldn't find. So yeah, there's a lot of change, a lot of strange things that have gone on in the background with all this. One big one, I've screamed this for forever. Scott Green being involved in everything, which he shouldn't. That's always been a question to me as to why. Why are you overly involved in this? In the beginning, sure, I can see that for the student's sake, but at this point, there should be no involvement. He should have never been involved in police interviews, police meetings, none of it. Thank you, confidential. Phi Delta Theta. There we go. Okay, there's the answer to it.
Thank you, Jenn.
Sorry about that, guys. And so yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that in the background that I would like to know that I think may give answers to some of this stuff. Truly, will we ever get it? No, but and that's what I was saying, David. That Hunter's appearance definitely could be stressed for a couple reasons. He could be, like I said, he could be stressed that he lost his friend. He could be stressed for what he dealt with that day. He could be stressed because of something he knows that he's been sitting on for 2.5 years. Or he could have a drug issue or a sickness or something. Who knows? But it definitely, in my opinion, is in one of those brackets, truly.
Well, clearly something that doesn't add up because, we got the 911 call thing, and here he's telling them to get out of the house, but they weren't. They were already in the house. And then they're, do you need a defibrillator? No, I don't need a defibrillator. I need a resurrectionist or a reanimator at this point, right, because they are gone. And so, JJ can poo-poo the investigations of Grub Truck and the Banfield and all that all he wants. I really feel that if it comes down to it and they actually do release everything in this case, the one clearly important thing is going to be the Corner Club footage.
Yeah, definitely. All of it.
Somebody got... I mean, if I could take my pick of different pieces of evidence that would be released, that would be the one. That would be my go-to, right there.
That's a good point. I mean, there's definitely something with that place. Since you brought that up, way back when Rory was boots on the ground. He was in multiple shows. He would go to different places, and we'd be live with him, streaming it while he's live. And one of the big ones was when he went to the Corner Club, and he just was sitting on the back patio, bought a drink. He's on his laptop, and they forced him to leave. Okay,
that's weird.
And they were there was a guy on the one side of the fence that was back there. All you could see was kind of like the Wilson thing. You know what I mean? Was this, and was kind of giving him looks, and walked away. Got somebody else, brought him back. The owner comes up to him and says, "You need to go." Roy was like, "What are you talking about, dude? I'm just sitting here." And he goes, "We know what you're here doing. You need to go now." And he goes, "I just got a drink. Can I finish my drink?" And he goes, "No, get the fuck out." And he got nasty with him. And so there's an issue with that, in my opinion. Like, you don't just treat them.
I never saw that, Diego. Holy shit.
Yeah,
that's a big sorority and fraternity hangout, right?
Yeah, they did not want him there.
Right.
They told him to. There's Tommy. Tommy Jude knows all about it. Tommy was on that live as well. You're get the fuck out and don't come back. They didn't even want him on the sidewalk in front of the bar. So why would you say something like that to a patron that you don't even know? Somebody pointed him out and said blah 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 blah. The owner comes over, shut him down. Rory shut down his laptop at that point. You know, they told him to shut it off. If I remember right, Tommy's in here. He can remind me, but they said, "Shut it off now. Turn it off right now." And he's like, "I'm not doing anything." And they're like, "Turn it off now and get the fuck out." Those were the words.
Wow.
But like, and there
they
was
sign up for the Hitler Friends and Family program. It sounds like.
Yeah, right. It was pretty wild. It was pretty wild. Yeah, he wasn't even filming. Tammy's right. So that was way back when, and it was like, what the hell is going on? He was yelled at many a times by other people. So, you know, when he was over at the Linda Lane area, we were looking around for cameras and things like that, and he was approached, I think, once or twice by people telling him, "We don't want you here. Go away." So, you know, what do you take out of that, guys? There's something strange with that. You don't know this guy from Adam. And
that whole town has that atmosphere, from my assessment. It's got a very Twin Peaks-like culture to it.
Oh, definitely Twin Peaks. That's what I called this case a couple years back. It's the same thing, and it was. Yep. There were people that he said would, like he said, he felt like wanted to talk to him, but wouldn't do it. Yeah, he got kicked out of there too. Tommy's right. They ran him off everywhere he went. You saw the bullshit that they gave him when he went to Jack in the Box. It's the weirdest shit I've ever seen in my life. I never understood that. We were just there trying to check things out. Reporters were given hard times. You saw the guy was going to beat the hell out of JLR. That happened. So they didn't want
on that same note, Dig, if I may interject and ask you this question. Do you recall the incident over there, I believe it was 802 Taylor Road, the gas station, on or about December 15th? The night manager discovered that video of the car driving past Taylor Road on or about 3:45 in the morning on 11/13, 2022. And the police response to that, not only did they not go get that tape between that recording between 11/13 and December on or about December 14th. This is after they put out the call. That's what elicited the manager's response to even review the videos when they put out the call on December 7th to look for the white Elantra.
Right.
And that picture is now being used by a lot. I've seen being toted around by some folks describing and poop coating these narratives, as I like to describe it now, across the YouTube communities, using that photo, saying like, "Oh, this is all the evidence that the state produced." Well, that was not the evidence the state produced, but it is interesting the state's response to that evidence, because they shut that gas station down.
Yeah, I've heard that. I heard that from somebody else. That
There's photographs of it. They put tape all around it. Yeah.
Yep. That is.
So why would they not go collect the tape, and then why would their response be to then do that, shut it down, and then, you know what I mean? Like they taped off the pumps too, and the vehicle never stopped there. The vehicle never stopped. So why would you do that?
They had no reason to. That's my opinion. But yeah, that's a great question. Why didn't they go get it? Well, I'm gonna say that they didn't have to. They didn't need to.
And why would you respond in such a capacity? I saw someone in the chat comment they were upset that they interrupted their frame job. Well, I would argue it's the same deal here with the gas station manager.
Of course, that makes perfect sense. There, perfect sense.
Well, if you recall, they went all the way east 20 miles to collect video allegedly from gas stations and stores 20 miles east of town, but they did not get that gas station on the route out of town on the east from that gas station on Taylor Road. So it begs the question of what they were really doing in the first place.
Agreed. There's many things like that. You are absolutely right that they have done that makes zero sense. Tearing the house down, all of that stuff, guys, should have never happened.
Moving all the property out of the home on the same morning they released a statement to the public saying, we need your help. We have no clue what's going on here. We need your help identifying the occupant or occupants of this 2013 to 2015 white Hyundai Elantra.
Mm-hmm. No, there's too many questions that'll, in my opinion, and I hate to say it, but I feel that'll never be answered, JJ. That's sad.
I agree, because again, we see this whole, I think it was the original call was 2011 to 2013, and we see Hippler even using that as an excuse to disqualify these alternative suspects. Well, he even says it publicly, well, they didn't have a white Hyundai Elantra. Well,
and that blew my mind when he said
right.
That in itself, first off, he should have never been able to say that. Second off, that tells you right there, they built this case around a stupid car that I don't believe was even ever there.
Correct,
and,
sir.
And, you know, they arrested this kid and built the case around that, too. This makes sense to anybody that has any kind of common sense, in my opinion. So, yeah, 100%, dude. They should have never said, he should have never, as a judge, made that statement. And that was just, that was it right there. That was it right there. Made no sense.
Well, if I may follow up on a couple points that I heard y'all talk about while I was away, I was taking my dog for a walk and the skies opened up on me again.
Yeah, it's been rainy here too. You heard that hail the other
man,
night.
we just keep getting intermittent showers, dude. That hail you had the other night, dude. I can't believe it didn't like damage windows there. That was so loud.
It was honestly like those kind of like little crystallized stalagmite type of tiny hail. It sounded like, I mean, because if it was golf ball size, it would have been whapping, you know, really pounding. I'm just glad my windshield is still intact. And
well, I am too, sir, and I have two bones to pick with you. You made a few allegations while I was away. That one, I was pooping on some books or something, and another one where I was pooping on something else. A lot of poop stuff.
The grub truck stuff and all that that you thought was irrelevant. Yeah. One thing, real quick, JJ, before you.
I don't know that it's irrelevant. What I'm saying is the grub truck may be the most relevant. The stuff that was released from St. Andrews showing them walking with Showalter. You know, I'm willing to believe they were with Showalter, but as Jen points out, you shouldn't be able to see through Kaylee in that video. You know, she shouldn't be translucent.
Her arms shouldn't get 7 feet long at one point.
Right. So, and these were leaked things. So even the 911 call was leaked. We have never been given anything from the state to substantiate any of these claims outside of a fantastic PowerPoint.
Nope. Everything was leaked that we got. That is fact.
Well, the bottom line there, though, is our inability to thread these circumstances together. Why? What? Somebody said that maybe it wasn't saying, what did you tell Adam? It was, what did you say about Adam coming out, or something like outing Adam?
Yeah, but weighing in on these matters and hyper focused on what he said in these videos that we know have been tampered with in the first place and leaked out for our attention, like Linda Lane, in my opinion. Well, then it begs the question of why are these things being leaked out, and then at the certain times they're being leaked out.
Yeah, listen, that Linda Lane footage definitely been tampered with, especially post 7 a.m. when I think they have a footage of a police car vehicle headed down Taylor towards either King Road or Walinda, or Walinta, whatever it is, that is cut out 13 seconds, coincidentally or missing. You know, it just adds to the list.
There's a whole 35 minutes missing from that the dumpster footage.
Is it 35 minutes? Holy shit.
Yeah, and why is the sheriff of the county in the biggest crime in state history not made any statements about any of these matters?
Exactly. Not seen one word come from him ever. Never.
Yeah.
That there's and I think I agree with you in a sense too, Kane, because I think every time something came out and it was leaked, there was a reason behind it. I don't know exactly what they are, okay, but it happened for a reason. The Linda Lane stuff was leaked on purpose. Everything that we've gotten leaked to us was definitely done for a reason. I don't care who did it. I mean, I know that Steve leaked the Linda Lane stuff to an extent, and quite a few other things. He's admitted to leaking things. What is the point behind all that? And why did you do it when you did it? You know what I mean? I think there's definite reasons for all of it. And the reason, I'd like to be able to figure out at that specific time why you did this and at that specific time why you did that. Because I'm telling you, there is definitely a strategy to the whole thing, folks. There was the whole time.
Sure.
I think that's why Steve is so pissed right now, because he did everything he was supposed to do, in my opinion. And he was told to by the FBI. I'll just put it out there. That's my opinion, of course, allegedly. And did not receive what he wanted to receive in return. And that makes perfect sense to me. The point behind it, though, is what I don't get.
All along the way, he's attacked people they're carrying the ball. Whoever had the ball was the bad guy. First it was L.E., now it's Bill Thompson. I as far as my opinion of Steve G goes, he's not the kind of guy that is easily misled. All right, so whether or not he believes what they're telling, one thing before you guys jump in is with
I'm going to jump in right now.
With the gas station footage. Didn't they refer to that in court as one of the evidence as the car speeding away, or was that the other footage with the super bright headlights? Because
I think it's the super bright headlights 11-12 footage, I believe. So
I agree.
I'm sure.
Well,
I'm sure Heather will weigh in.
Why would a 345 car speeding away from the area of the scene be important if the crime didn't happen until 407?
None of it's important because they never even have a storyline of how the car parked, he got out, or anything else. He just magically jumped out, went inside, flew inside, murdered some folks, and flew back out.
Right.
Exactly.
You literally have to believe he's a parachuting ninja to be able to do it, and for them to do a walkthrough and say it technically could be done in 5 minutes is just like so telling. Like, why on earth would you even submit that?
Dude, they ran through there without any report written, without any videotape of it, and said, yeah, we could do that in 4 minutes.
And they also didn't add in the fact that the people that were defending themselves, that takes the time away, and they didn't do any of that. That's all they did. Just like JJ just said, there was no fighting with anybody. That takes time out of everything. Xana fighting back to defend herself, Kaylee fighting back to defend herself, and who knows what else. They didn't add any of that time into that, which would have taken a whole hell of a lot of time away from it, in my opinion. And it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, and every single one
I've
of
seen
these
no
things,
evidence any crime occurred at that home, at that property.
There is something, because I was just going to say, every single one of these factors totally ignores the fact that there was a 1-year-old dog in that house, it was a very energetic dog, loved its master, and it's just going to sit there, not eat, not drink water, not want any attention for 8 hours. I don't know.
Well, clearly you didn't read the Meowery report because DM heard the dog and Kaylee playing with the dog and ran upstairs.
There's no way that dog did not. There's no way that dog did not seek out Kaylee after the murders and stayed in that room and just sat there. And I've seen people say, well, if he was scared, he would have done this. No. That dog and her were attached at the hip. And he was still a puppy and still needed his owner. There's no way I'll believe that he sat there with the door open, mind you, and didn't move.
Yeah, but if we go back to the original statements that allegedly occurred, as per Dylan Mortensen, she heard someone playing with the dog, and then we have all these mysteries surrounding the dog ever since then, right? The location of which.
Well, yeah, and then originally, don't you remember, they said that he was locked in a room.
Right, and all the doors were closed.
Kaylee's room, and all the doors were closed. Everything changed. For all we know, the dog wasn't even there.
Maybe the dog was at the corner club having a drink with Rory.
For all we know, we don't know the crimes occurred there, right? We have no reason to believe anything occurred there. We saw no evidence to substantiate these claims.
Another factor when you guys talk about the creepiness of the town as far as Twin Peaks goes is a big platform of mine has been the Timmy Reed beating. that he took from the football players that were never named. I tried to get a hold of Tim Gressback, the family lawyer, and he's a Moscow-based lawyer there, and he was handling the case for them. And I could not have gotten a stiffer opposition, for lack of a better term, from not only his staff, but from him himself. And then I tried to contact Nick Reed, who you would think would want to share his story, and just complete silence. I mean, I had a much easier time with Jason Jensen, getting him on the horn there.
Jason Jensen,
my man.
Come on,
Jason
man.
Jensen.
What's that whole scene about, dude? What I mean, listen. If any of this was legitimate, why would we need all of these folks rolling out here to do ridiculous things like this non-PI, Jason Jensen?
He's from Central Casting.
You read my mind, sir. He's basically, right. Dude, do you have some sort of devices hooked up to my brain hole to also clone me? Because he is straight from Central Casting.
Here's what it is, dude. The most reliable person in this case has been Witness Protection Larry. Let's face it. He said this whole thing is a hoax.
Larry is a hero. He's a hero.
Did you know where I was going? Did you have that up already? Look at this guy. You're cloning me again, JJ.
I'm reading your brain hole, sir.
You're right up in there. Fisting it.
Running around in there.
There's still it's left one big thing that still has not been let out, and I don't think that it ever will at this point, is a motive. If Bryan did this, there still has been no motive laid out.
And there's no desire for it. They're just like, we invented a motive, and that's going to be it. Like, what the fuck? Why doesn't that matter?
Yeah, they don't seem to be too worried about any of that, which blows my mind.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, facts be damned. We've created this entire narrative. I mean, when you talk about federal involvement and national security, what possible connection could it have to these kids? What issue of national security could be connected to 4 college-age kids who may or may not had more money than the typical college student coming from, average income families?
They definitely had an inexplicable income, Kane, and it's rooted in both their appearances and the way they lived and in their financial records, it seems. But the connection I still assert is Scott Green's old buddy, Sam Bankman-Fried, his old client, his old law firm, and their money laundering operation 45 miles north of both campuses that got found out that the merger between Green's old law firm that was handling the merger between Binance and FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried's company, and this other company, Binance, that fell out on November 9th. Dylan Mortensen invites Kaylee on November 10th. Sam Bankman-Fried files emergency bankruptcy on November 11th. These folks are dead less than 36 hours later, it seems. So I think it's the chronology of events that are very telling to me. So if there was a rug trafficking operations, as I assert there were in these Greek cultures of both these campuses, and that they were laundering the money at this point in time, with this new operation in town with the cash to crypto scam that Sam Bankman-Fried and gang are not being prosecuted for. I repeat, are not being prosecuted for.
Wow.
Just like his Selly P. Diddy, who just walked with us. They have the same attorneys, right? So, and P. Diddy again has his own connections to Idaho. He made an emergency stop to Idaho right before he got arrested. So, Coeur d'Alene, in fact, right by that compound. The airport's about 5 miles away from that compound.
I'll tell you, you can say what you want about Moscow, but Coeur d'Alene is where the real action is. I feel strongly about that, especially from my former co-host, Eva, and her accounts of what goes on there. It doesn't seem like your typical conservative town anyway. A lot of sexual activity going on there. And
there is a lot of Hollywood there. There's a lot of Hollywood there for sure.
Oh, okay. And then there's also a lot of 3-letter activity as well, right? She was there for the DOJ.
Yep.
And she
that's a major trafficking. That's a major intersection of trafficking, human, drugs, and guns, which again have all been going on in Idaho around this case. So there was that huge gun trafficking operation. When I make all these parallels to Iran-Contra, these are the parallels, because not only was there a gun trafficking operation going on out of Fairchild Air Force Base in Spokane, Washington. How about shooty pointies?
Tweet views, whatever, yeah, and unalive. I'm just trying to keep them off my back.
So they moved the ringleader of that operation to Whitman County Jail on December 5th, long before we ever heard the name Bryan Kohberger, and that man has disappeared in the federal prison system.
Who is this? I'm sorry.
The ringleader of the the pointy shooty trafficking operation is being run out of Fairchild Air Force Base. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff, but that epicenter of activity around Coeur d'Alene and Spokane is it's a major thoroughfare for all sorts of activity.
It feels like every time you grab another piece and pull it in and stir it in the pot, all it does is just make too many chefs in the pot. It's just more questions and dangling chads, you know?
Well, you dangle your chad somewhere else, sir. This is a public show. This is a family program. Just here at the Purge, we don't deal with that kind of activity. But it does seem to me, looking at the political environment, the Hurwitz and the Eastern District of Washington U.S. Attorney did not get along.
Who is this?
Well, you have a U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Washington out of Spokane, right? You have one for the Western District out of Seattle, but the Eastern District doesn't seem like he got along at all with Hurwitz.
Do you think that would have motivated Hurwitz to get in there, or was he just jobless?
When you're looking at all these operations that are going on there with the two different districts, you know, whether it's the Ruggs or the Pointy Shooties or the Peoples, and they're getting trafficked, you have multi-jurisdictional situations that you're dealing with. So, like I said, them cowboys that came into the 1122 home on or about December 9th of 2022, and somebody tipped off News Nation to their arrival. We see a little bit of that video clip of them trying to get their faces on camera and whatnot. I would assert those are probably U.S. Marshals who work for the Eastern District of Washington U.S. Attorney.
You know, now go ahead, Diego, I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask what your guys' thoughts were as to the real reason that Hurwitz was brought in. I know they put out a reason why, but what do you think the real reason why he was brought in was?
I think he's a bag man. I think he learned from Eric Holder during Iran-Contra activities. I think he's replicating those same things he's doing today in Idaho, in what I call Idaho-Contra activities, because it involves some of the same money launderers, including Coomer Scott Green's buddy Leon Black, who Coomer Scott Green went into business with in the attempt to purchase University of Phoenix. Leon Black literally was a money launderer in Iran-Contra, and also a friend of Jeffrey Epstein, who paid over $2 million off to Epstein victims thus far, and is under active investigation by U.S. Congress still today.
Gotcha.
So I think Hurwitz is the man to keep a lid on all these kind of things, right?
Gotcha.
So he came from Eric Holder's law firm in D.C.
Okay.
Covington Burlum, where Holder's been a partner since 1996, I think.
Okay. Miss Potts says the cleaner. There you go.
Yeah, I can honestly think of any situation to insert yourself to at that late of a date that I would rather do than to be involved in this case at all. And then,
well, I mean, it doesn't serve him politically speaking. It doesn't advance his career at all. He's 40. He was a 42-year-old U.S. attorney. He was on a meteoric rise to be a deputy U.S. attorney at the Department of Justice. A deputy AG. I'm sorry, right there under the AG, and ultimately the AG. So again, he was on a meteoric rise there. He has no reason to deter that campaign of he would go back to D.C. Right? If he gets fired from the university from U.S. Attorney of Idaho, as he resigned in face of getting fired back in February, he would go back to D.C. and continue his political rise. He would not stay in a state he has no connections to. He went to high school in Oregon, I believe Salem, and he went to college at Stanford and then Harvard. So he has zero connections to this area.
That is mind-blowing.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
It was about, I want to say, a year into the case, and I'm just going to talk about it again one more time. Eva was my co-host. The way I met her, she pulled up in front of my trailer here and said, "Hey, how's the weather's been kind of crazy. Do you want to buy some cable TV?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And she fell all over herself to give me this deal that I still have to this day: free cell phone, free Wi-Fi, $30 a month for internet, and then I'm like, "Hey, we
$30 a month for them to monitor all of your stuff that you got for free, right?"
I mean, they haven't interrupted any of my texts whether this call is being recorded yet, but if they're already in the inside, they don't need to. But for her to show up at that time when I'm in the middle of my show just growing, and for her to be listening to my stories about the Idaho4 and just playing dumb, and then all of a sudden 2 or 3 shows in, she's like, "Yeah, I was brought over by the DOJ from the Ukraine, and I was stationed in Coeur d'Alene." Like, you've done 2 shows, and this is the first time you're mentioning that. It now all of a sudden just seems to be. You guys might be looking at me side-eyed on it, but it just seems that maybe the infiltration was right there, right in front of my eyes. Because she would never elaborate on why the would the DOJ bring somebody that was a Ukraine native or whatever over to the United States to be stationed in Coeur d'Alene.
Do you see the look of my face hole? I mean, you're bringing up some good points, sir. I like the use of your own brain hole for the use of its intended purposes, not a paperweight like some folks use it for. Not you, of course. You're spot on, dude. That's super sus, dude. Super sus.
Very, very much so. Yes, agreed. Wild as hell. I never knew that. That's real interesting, sir.
I mean, we're talking about a girl who was literally bringing wine over if I needed a ride or whatever. At the time, I didn't have the car. Anything, bending over backwards.
To bend over backwards. This is a literal definition of a honeypot, Kane.
And where is she now, Kane?
She's called me once in 6 months to just check in on me to see if I needed Frontier cable, allegedly. So that's the only thing I've heard from her. I don't know if because I wasn't interested, she moved on, or her job was done here. But as soon as I started asking questions about Coeur d'Alene and her reason for being there, it just kind of the siphon got shut off. So
they brought her over from the UK to work for the cable company. That's pretty wild.
Right?
Gotta love that one. That's a new one. I love that. Yeah.
Looking back, hindsight's 2020 on it, I guess, right? And she did have some very interesting stories about a lot of pro wrestlers and throw your key in the hat parties and stuff like that.
Yeah, she read your profile. She knew what you were interested in. And what you're describing to me all sounds appropriate for a honeypot.
A honeypot, huh?
I will, just for shits and for poops and giggles, I will send you no fewer than 5 examples of COINTELPRO or CIA operations, COINTELPRO being FBI, front using cable companies as front companies.
Stop it.
Independent third party cable companies in repair.
Because nobody questions the cable van out front. It's not necessarily the FBI van out front.
And you can keep surveillance stuff out there in your van, and it's just, you're a cable van. Of course you got.
They have access to your home and your life, your internet, your computers, your cameras. Think about it.
This is a very common front operation.
Now. Jenn and Heather were there, so they accepted her at that time, without question. And then all of a sudden it just comes up. Yeah, I have way more relation to this case than anybody even in the barely in the chat. Let alone me.
When you first told me about this, sir, first of all, is this the purge? When you first told me about this, I was dumbfounded. I was like, this all sounds like a honeypot, King.
Yeah, no, I remember it was a striking thing. Where do we go from here?
So y'all were saying who was a party that may have been complicit in some of these matters that would be worthy of which to hide away from political forces being weighing in? I would say Showalter would be on target because his maternal uncle is a deputy attorney general up there working for alongside Nye and gang, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Showalter has some stickiness to him. You can like with the grub truck, you can see his emotional reactions and actions following whatever happened.
Let's, if I may interrupt you because I intentionally do it anyways here at the Purge.
I can't talk on my own show.
Let's go back to the basics here. How is Jack Showalter allowed at any fraternity or sorority function if he was thrown out of his sorority?
Well, that's why I say the grub truck or the corner club footage might be important because allegedly he was thrown out of there for fighting. And is he just stalking them? Is he protecting them? We can't believe any of these stories that we hear. I want to see it for myself. Jen's brought up many times that it was a football night and that club was more or less half empty. And it's a tiny little club. And we've seen, I know you've seen them, Dago, the pictures of the corner club owner at 1122. So there's an association, and I realize it's a small town, but there is an association that...
Let's also consider the factors present during that weekend. So it was Parents Weekend at Washington State, and any parent who's been to college weekends knows it's a complete and utter poop show trying to get in any establishment, especially in a small town like Pullman, where you're going to have overflow of those families going over to Moscow to the restaurants and bars.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because considering there was hardly anything in Pullman, it was told to me more than once that everybody went to Moscow for all of the good places to go. So yeah, that makes perfect sense.
You are correct, sir. So we do see an anomaly there with whatever was released, right? They have 15 cameras, I believe it was mentioned in court documents inside the corner club, but we only see one still shot image that was leaked from an unknown third party through a Facebook group that is extremely suspect.
Mm-hmm.
Well, another thing that's suspect is that they've used selective harvesting of this camera footage. There's so many other cameras along the way that they don't even cite, use, talk about at all. One in particular is on Stadium Way, right in front of the Cougar Stadium, that if he was going to that, coming or to or fro from that area, he would have been captured on. And
for sure, dude, they've been playing a magic show with these cameras the entire time. Not only is that not BK's car, it's not the same car in every image in the first place.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely agree with that. Absolutely. There was way more than one camera angle that could have been used for the corner club. That was absolutely set up to look the way it did, in my opinion, on purpose. They could have used somebody will correct me, I hope, on this, but wasn't the back parking lot, didn't that walk up to the Moose Club of the corner? The back parking lot of the corner club walked up against the Moose Club next door? Am I wrong about that?
I think the Moose Club is not across Main Street, but across a side street, not catty corner, but directly north of the corner club.
It's real close. It's real close.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's basically next door. What were you saying, Dago? I'm sorry.
It's real close.
Well, I thought maybe that there could have been, if that's another bar, another club, that there could have been cameras there that they could have saw certain things going on at the corner club as well. With those cameras, there's so many other cameras that they could have pulled, I think, and showed different things on that they didn't touch. In my opinion, I should say.
Well, no, for sure. They didn't get that 801 or 802 Taylor Road gas station footage at all. And again, they went past it to get other footage from neighboring towns, but didn't get the footage on the gas station on the way out of town. It's not believable. It's not believable.
That's 100% true, sir. I agree with you.
Yeah, so if you apply these standards across what they claim they did, and it's pretty evident they did an uninvestigation.
Yep. Yeah, there's those things there that could have been pulled that probably would have shown us, would have been proof that to other things that have been put out that we do believe are untrue. So
that's honestly, bro, that's where the problem is going to come in. Is if they had exculpatory evidence and they withheld it like they've done in the past. That
Well, they
should
don't
have
need
been a
exculpatory
Brady
evidence.
right there.
They don't have any evidence. They don't have any evidence to have exculpatory evidence. You have to have evidence in the first place.
Yeah, that's a good point too. But I agree with you though that if they do have, I agree that they probably do have. If they have anything, he's right though. They didn't have anything, but if they do, I do believe they probably are sitting on exculpatory evidence that shows that Bryan didn't do this, and that's just sad to me.
Which is basis for a Brady violation and the Franks hearing and all that. And so you not only have the law enforcement that's culpable, you would have the judge himself for overlooking that. Now, since you brought up the Moose Club,
yes,
remember the 911 call allegedly came from the Moose Club. Was it the night before or that same night?
I believe it was 8:15 on 11/12/2023.
Yeah, and the backpack that was stolen or whatever it was, I do believe. If it's been a long time, guys, so bear with me. I think that's what it was. And a fight possibly as well. I think somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that's what that was. And yes, that's another good point. Good point. Where did all that go? Right.
And looking back to that same weekend, which the owners of it went absolutely nuts when anybody brought it up, was the axe throwing club that opened up that same night.
Yep.
And
not only the axe throwing club, if you recall, there was an outdoorsman event hosted by the University of Idaho, hosting 5 other universities, where these folks competed in chopping down stuff, throwing knives, axes, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
No
I
kidding.
do remember hearing about that too. I remember hearing about that. That is true.
And would you believe there were some sorority members on some of those teams in those nearby universities that came into town that day? So if there was a larger rug trafficking operation, wouldn't it be convenient those folks may have been complicit, but back home in their beds by the 911 call was made?
Yeah. Yes. That does make some sense. I'm right here, Meanie. Sorry.
We've honestly, Dago, we talked about it last week. We've looked at things backwards, inside out, and upside down. You know, I've played the speeches backwards, and now with this alleged speeding away car, we have stick figures that we're looking at David Loach's house, right? With Tommy Jude's thing the other day. I don't know if you caught that, where they're pointing at the speeding away car, and you can clearly see it. And so to say the only person that saw the speeding away car or whatever, or anything associated with the crime was Dylan, that's a lie, right there.
Gotcha. No, I didn't see that. Yeah, absolutely.
And
understood.
Yeah, they went to great lengths to hide the identity of that car, and it's astounding, you know.
Because it's not a white Elantra. That's what my full belief is on that. I've said that many times. I don't believe it is. I think it's a BMW. That's just me. And a lot of people have disagreed. People have agreed. It is what it is. But that's what I think that car was. If it's even that white car. I think there were many.
How you doing? Don't be
many different cars. I think that were seen that night, and none of them were Bryan's, in my opinion.
Yep.
And to further that point is, I drive an Elantra, and I asked my mechanic friend the other day, I'm like, should it be this loud? You know, because it's just a little four banger. He's like, yeah, no, that's perfectly normal. You hear the tires screeching in that speeding away video, but you don't hear any engine noise at all. And that was another point that Tommy made that I thought was pretty compelling. Here you have this car accelerating out of the area. Is it the hybrid? You know, that's a good look.
Yeah, I've had people come at me, a lot of guilters, when I've said that I don't believe it's an Elantra. Well, yeah, it is. I said an Elantra doesn't sound like that car that we heard in the one video that's all soup can sound and this and that and everything else. When we spent days trying to line up a car with the car that was at the dumpster video from Linda Lane, so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. You hear this car driving around all damn night long. It's got a turbo motor in it. We lined it up, and it matched right up to that BMW situation. We all know that videos can be messed with. They have been through this whole case. Okay, so you can take sound out, you can do this, you can do that, but you can also. People are telling me, well, they have a muffler system that they put on that Elantra. They did this and did that, and I'm okay. Stop.
My biggest issue with cars, though, gents, is the fact that the state failed to prove where this alleged car parked, how he allegedly got out,
Right.
et cetera, right?
Exactly, and there's cameras all over that area, you guys. Well, that's another.
Well, how does Olivia Gonzalez allegedly know that her sister Madison Mogan took out Murphy for a walk when they got home from allegedly a nearby Ring doorbell camera, right? I believe at the 1112 location, perhaps. If she knew that, well, how do we not know how this individual came and went?
Thank you. Why did we not see a car parked somewhere? Because there was, again, when Rory went there, we found cameras all over that place, guys. There was a camera right behind it on the top of a pole. Whether it was active or not, I don't know. But there's cameras pointing directly at the front of the house from across the street.
Has to be because it's the campus property right over there across the road there, which, again, they have to have for liability issues. They have to have I assure you, for insurance and liability issues, they have to have everything covered on their campus these days for public spaces.
All those apartments across the street, there was a camera there, down here, over here. I mean, you're going to tell me that you did not see? If Bryan did this, you should have jumped all over that and said, there he is right there. We should have saw that long time ago. He's right there getting out of that car, went in, came back out, did this, and it was done. And I would have said, you got me, you got him, we're done. They've never showed that because they don't have it, okay? Because he didn't do that. That never happened, in my opinion. And I'm telling you, I don't think there was a car there. I think the people that did this were on foot. That's something I've stuck with for a long time.
I totally agree, because the extraction point would have been far easier up on top of the hill through the pathway behind the house.
And that's exactly what I think, because nobody's going to see you go out that back door, all three, four of you, or however many there were, and you go up the hill, down the stairs, and off. You're into a whole other area of Moscow at that point. Nobody would have had a clue who you were, what you were doing. Nobody. So that is exactly what my thought was and has been for a long time on that. There was no car, which is why it pissed me off even more that Hitler had to make that statement.
Yeah, it's the most immediate ingress and egress point from that little bowl or valley the home sits in. You're certainly not going to drive into that bowl or valley when there has limited access points in and out of it. You're going to go to a point that you can rapidly egress out of the home under coverage and concealment of the bushes and in the darkness there up the hillside and the trail to your getaway vehicle. Ain't no one going to be any different.
100%. And once again, I'll say it again, Bryan Kohberger was way too smart to come into that area and drive around and go, hey guys, see me? I'm right here. I'm getting ready to go in the house and kill these people. Watch me drive in circles for an hour, and then I'll come back out and you'll see me again. No, he didn't. That is the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my life. Well, you see him driving in circles. That is so dumb to me. Who's going to advertise what they're doing, knowing that people are going to see them and be picked up on camera? That dude's too smart. So come on.
Here's the other thing I got a real problem with, Dave. I'd like to hear your opinion on. How do you keep that home empty that night with no parties involved?
Thank you. There was a party the night before of 100 plus people in that house.
Yeah.
So we all know that house was that house. That was why that house existed. We
see them coming and going when allegedly the roommates aren't even home, and that one police body camera footage from September of 2022.
Yes. They were half the time, they were never there half the time, and other people were. Hunter Johnson's was in that house 9 out of 10 times when nobody else was. That says a lot.
On the night of the murder, how do you keep all these people out?
That's right. That is right. Unless somebody says, we're not doing it tonight, folks.
Yeah, and you have someone on the inside keeping people away, in my opinion.
100%. 100%. That makes perfect sense to me, sir. It surely, truly does.
Yeah, I honestly don't think they had control over who came and went from that house on any given time. I think that was more up to the frats, and that was, I mean, it didn't really occur to me that that house is literally across the street from being on campus. Like, the campus ends at Sigma Chi. And so when they keep reiterating an off-campus house after hours, they're doing that for a reason. Now, listen to this. I kind of feel like I have a really nice metaphor to tie it up in a nice, neat little ball, is the reason that each and every single one of us is so messed up over this case is because we have this tractor trailer, this 100-car train that we've been pulling behind us with all this stuff that we've come up with, that we've seen, that we've noticed, and then all of a sudden, in 1 minute, one fell swoop, they hit the brakes, and it just all comes smushing up against the back of our heads. He's guilty. He pleaded out. It's over. And none of it adds up. They still use the same bullshit story that they've told us over and over since day one. And now we're just supposed to be, oh, okay. And let's go ahead and make a 3D model of how he did it. And it's just like, I feel like every minute of the day, another car is just in this multi-car pileup slamming me in the back of the head. And shit like the Corner Club and the Moose Lodge and the axe throwing place and what movie was playing or what kind of art exhibit they had the week before start popping up in your head again. And you're like, Jack Showalter, where is all this shit? Why doesn't it matter at all? Jen was just saying that they cleared Jack Showalter and Jack D within 5 hours.
Yo.
Did they do forensic analysis on their phones within 5 hours and they were just totally clear then?
There's so many people they didn't do that with, Kane. So many people that should have been done. That should have been done with immediately. Steve and Christy both themselves said they were cleared too fast. In one of the first interviews they ever said, they may not have been talking about. They may not have been talking about Decor, but they were definitely talking about some other people that should not have been cleared as fast as they were. It was an issue then. Why isn't it? Why did it all of a sudden stop being an issue?
Right. It's literally like that's a slap to the face, and at the same time we have all this information that's just blamming us in the back of the head, and there's just no way that I can be like, oh, okay, well he said it, then that's fine. It won't add up, and it never will. And so, what can happen if he does continue with this plea? And then all this stuff is non-disseminated, and we're like, oh, well, here's your answer, ding, 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 ding. What can we do at that point? You just say, I mean, the deal's already signed, right? Can you be like, look, you have to reinvestigate? Is it possible?
I can tell you right now, we saw all this play out with David Berkowitz in the same capacity you're describing right now.
Well, JJ, actually, to that point, it's interesting when you talked about McVeigh was not tried by a jury of his peers. There were 3 judges in that case that decided his fate. Is that correct?
Well, that was Berkowitz. So Berkowitz allegedly pleads to all the murders of the Son of Sam crimes and attempted murders in front of 3 different judges from 3 different counties in New York in the same room, and under, I think it's in and out of there in 40 minutes. And officially, according to the state of New York, there's been no further investigations because the case was closed, and that's what we'll see here in the state of Idaho.
That's definitely the way it's looking right now. Yes, I agree with you.
Is there a way? How were they able to fast track his, execution? And would they be able to do that here if Hitler decides that he wants to issue that?
Well, Hitler can't.
Federal?
Hitler can't. Let's put that down now.
I thought that the option was still his.
No. He can only go below the terms of life. He cannot exceed the terms of life.
I see. Okay, I'd heard that actually, and I wasn't
You
sure.
You have not watched enough Price is Right, sir. You can go nearest to the dollar, but you cannot go over the dollar.
Linda Lane, come on down.
Come on down. You're the next contestant there.
I'll give you another. It's not really a nugget, but it's something I should have paid attention to early on in the case. I brought a parent to a student, WSU mom Kim. Everybody knows who she is. Many a times on my panel, I did private interviews with her, private phone calls with her, live interviews with her and other creators as well. And she told us a whole bunch of things that everybody doubted coming from her. And again, I've apologized more than once now, since all of this stuff came down towards the end here, she was right. She was absolutely right. So it makes me wonder about some of the other statements that she made. She did make a couple statements saying that everybody knew that this was going to happen before it happened.
Yep.
Everybody knew that who did it. She knew who was involved, or she said that they knew who was involved. Most everybody did, including the roommates, and that it would come out eventually. Well, here we are, and it hasn't come out, but she said that stuff probably within the first, I think by December, maybe a little later, possibly, but still. And everybody doubted it because she had no way to prove the specifics of what she was talking about. But she did make statements that it was known about by 8:30 in the morning, 9 o'clock. Dave verified, that interview with Dave verified by 9 a.m. He had messages sent through Snapchat. Well, it makes you go back and remember the messaging that we saw between Dylan and Bethany and so on and so forth. And Bethany and Dylan's on Snapchat all night long. Well, there's your answer right there. That verifies what Kim said, in my opinion. She very well could have been telling everybody.
You ain't kidding, sir. And when I first started looking into this stuff in Thanksgiving of 2022, it was based upon a phone call. I had a friend from locals in the area there, and they told me the same stories. When Kim came out in WCU, Kim came out, I believe in December, I heard that interview.
Yeah.
She verified the statements I was told by some other locals there regarding the early text messages that there was foreknowledge of said events allegedly amongst that Greek culture community. And it makes sense that they were probably not told that these folks were going to get murdered. They were probably told, or unalive, they were probably told that they were going to be taught a lesson. That was the impression I was given at the time. It seems to check out and play out over time.
And that's what Kim said, that it was supposed to be a shakedown that went way too far. And that makes sense, that it was they were going to threaten some people, maybe beat some people up, and it got carried away and ended up in this fashion, which is sad. But she said it then, and I can see it now. It makes perfect sense to me if that was the reason. Okay, all we need to do is be able to attach something to it to make that make sense as to why. You know what I mean? And that would probably answer the question. But also,
I can tell you why. I think it has relations to do the fact that these folks left their fraternity and sororities, and they were no longer a trusted member of this network. And suddenly, the elements around this, their operations in these, what I assert is a large-scale, ongoing, long-term rug trafficking operation amongst these Greek sororities and fraternities. And I built a strong circumstantial case based upon their own actions and events over the last 20 years. And making that claim. But if they were in fact laundering their money through that bank of Sam Bankman-Fried's, Scott Green's former client, up there 45 miles north of both campuses. Well, when the world found out when the deal fell out on November 9th, and Dylan invites Kaylee on November 10th, and world finds out on November 11th that bank has been laundering money, because they got seized 6 weeks after the unalivings for laundering money at that bank. And again, everyone's walked on that situation. The attorneys involved, Bankman-Fried, his partners, everybody. But nonetheless, if that indeed was true, well, then that provides the motive for these events that we see transpire.
It definitely makes sense. Definitely makes sense, sir.
If they're a liability, and suddenly the terms have changed amongst this network up there, and suddenly they have to roll out some cleanup operations. Well, when you have some liabilities out there like that, that seems like that may in fact be true. Because if I'm not mistaken, Zaina Kernodle put her bed up for sale 6 weeks prior to the unalivings, the same time she leaves the sorority. So if we're to assume those two events are related, and they're not just they just didn't happen at the same time. They're not just correlation. There's causation there, right? She's leaving campus.
There was a lot of hearsay that house was going to be vacated like very soon. Kaylee left.
Their actions seem to dictate that, right? If they quit if Zaina and I don't mean to interrupt you there, Dig. If I may make this point. If Zaina and Madison Mogan, because again, this has been my biggest thing since the very beginning. You got to understand the victims and the circumstances in their lives in order to understand why they were murdered or unalive. And if they leave their sororities the first semester, as stated by their sorority, as confirmed by photographs posted on the Pi Beta Phi for that first semester, they are not in those photographs. Bethany Funk is. Dylan Mortensen is not. Dylan Mortensen was not an official member of that sorority, and I will continue to make that argument. And again, strong evidence to support these claims based upon their own photographs and records. So, if that is the case, then again, you have these individuals who left there, and if she's leaving the sorority and then putting her bed up for sale, well, then that she's indicating she's leaving.
Yeah, I agree. It does make sense. And it was stated that they had people coming in there working on things inside the house, whether it be drywalling and stuff like that, because they had to get ready for the next group of people that were going to take over, guys. I mean, there was tarps laid down for different things, and they were fixing different stuff because there's people leaving. They gotta set it up to get ready to re-rent it again. So
you are right, sir. They had tarps, ladders, and paint sitting outside that home on the day of the murders.
Thank you. And again, it makes, hey, Willie, good to see you, bro. It makes sense, so I'm just saying, I got way too many questions that is dry. I'm not gonna sleep again tonight, because every time I talk about it, I'm thinking about all
you can't get it out of your brain hole, man. You can't. Let me throw this into the pot, since we're doing a retrospective of Idaho4 case. Why hasn't it been stated how contaminated that crime scene was? That's why you don't hear about this testimony from any of the neighbors, or say WSU Kim mom, if it's legit. Is that people were traipsing in and out of that crime scene before the crime, not to mention the fact that they acted like they just discovered it on the 911 call, but hours before people are in and out. You kind of figured it out. It doesn't take you too long. It's not like it was some big ass mansion where their bodies are way across the other side of the east wing of the house. They're right there. When you walk into the normal community areas, and so how is that completely squashed on top of to throw another cherry on top?
And you're right.
You make some excellent points, reading Kane Bo. You make some excellent points.
Well, I mean, there was so many more people that were in. Well, like I said, going back to what Kim said, Dago, there was a lot of people there. There were a lot of people at that house that morning, so on and so forth. Well, we learned through a video of another TV show, the Josie. She was never talked about. All of a sudden, boom, there's a new person. So Josie's there. Josie says she knew something was wrong as soon as she walked through the door. Of course you did. Okay, because you smelled it. Who else besides Josie went inside that house that morning besides the rest of them? I guarantee you there was more. Okay, and maybe we'll find out one day, maybe we won't. But that crime scene was probably one of the most tampered with crime scenes you'll ever see in your life. Most contaminated, I should say. I'm not saying tampered. Sorry.
That's who I thought Olivia was when that picture, those Ozempic picture surfaced of her looking at her dad. I thought that was Josie.
Josie was there, which I never heard her before. Jasmine was there at some point. Xana's sister, Ethan's twins were there at some point. And so many other people from the frat came over in other places. So,
gents, if I may interject here, we have photographic evidence of Moscow PD and Idaho State Police walking into that crime scene without a crime scene log, without wearing any gloves or footies there, for an entire at least 24 hours in the aftermath of the crimes.
Until they realized people were looking, and then all of a sudden they're putting the booties on.
I've yet to see a crime scene entry log, and to date, that was one of the most important factors in the continuity of evidence in that crime scene.
But when it came down to moving the furniture out of the house, you had somebody large and in charge, Chief Fry, and he had to drive that Pennsylvania U-Haul out of there himself. Which is just the most bizarre thing.
You ever seen that in a case ever before?
I mean, look at the Cowboys.
No way, and it's part of the distraction, because they literally made a press release, and then he got his happy ass into that U-Haul, drove over there with a shit-eating grin on his face, and started emptying the place out.
Thank you.
Once again, no footies, no gloves, no nothing. A few of them had gloves. I don't think they all had footies though.
Once again, completely ignoring the wishes of the family. And so it's mind blowing to me why all of a sudden the families think that their opinion is important when it comes to this plea deal. They don't give a shit what you think. And the Chapins seem to have accepted it early when they said it's not about the victims. We're just going to let the court do its thing, And if there's going to be any justice in this case, we'll go to this final hearing. But beyond that, there doesn't seem to be any interest in the way the justice system is working with the Chapins.
Steve said it himself that at some point they're going to come out and tell everybody what they went through the whole time, how they were treated the whole time. Well, I bet you that involves what you just said, that they didn't care anything about what the families truly wanted, as we saw with the house being torn down, we saw with the plea deal, we saw with all those other little things that they obviously don't care what the families want. It's all about what they're doing, period, no matter what happens. So
well, if I may add 2 points here also, we don't know for a fact that there wasn't any motions filed in regard to the contamination of evidence in this crime scene, because we've dealt with an unprecedented level of secrecy. And here in America, we have public court hearings and public proceedings. And I agree with Steve G when he says gag orders are for matters of national security.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that one. It's
I just got to pepper that one in there. You know me, I'm contractual.
no, it's a tried and true now, because it seems more poignant than ever that he is, like I said, he's a man who likes to make his opinion known and reality.
That dude's playing both. I have no evidence to support this. It's simply my gut feeling and reaction to his statements, words, and actions. He is playing both sides, and I don't know what his other side is or that plan is, but I'm certainly interested.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, I wonder where his final opinion will lie, and if he does take action, should something go awry, or if he's unhappy with BK just going to daycare, if he'll actually send the welcome party over like he's threatened to do. I mean, remember, that's where the pitchforks and torches thing came from. That's how he's characterizing his peers, is
dude, he's full of shit. Dude, he's full of shit. I hate to interject, but I'm tired of his shit, dude. If I have to hear him one more time complain about him being a local and this being an outsider, dude is from Modesto, California.
From California. He's not even from there. Hey, thank you. Oh my God, I hate that.
I mean, what difference does it make where the person that did it is from? It's still a terrible thing, and the only thing that you're doing is just demonizing him by pointing out the fact that from somewhere else, Lewiston. It's like
Lewiston. There are no polls in Moscow. The stickers there were no stickers on polls.
Back to your fields, comrades.
That so drives me nuts. I'm glad you said that, because he says it all the time. An outsider coming in and taking over and doing this and doing that. Dude, you're from California.
Well, that's why I always mention his quote about national security, because that's my version of his events, with claiming that he keeps on peppering that into every conversation.
Yeah. You're not a true Idahoan. I agree wholeheartedly.
Well, it literally is one of many things that they consistently will not let go of. He's not from the area. It was an off-campus after hours. The stalking thing, they won't let go. And now since they've gotten this guilty plea, they're running as fast down the track as they can with the 3D modeling and just taking all kinds of liberties with the story. That's why I'm like, one of us or all of us need to get together and write a book, whether we use AI or sit down at a typewriter, because at least a partial observation of the case will be in the public eye. And
I mean, that's definitely something. Can you imagine a book written by YouTubers that were putting this out from day one? Holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that probably if Lana penned it, it would get the most attention. But I think that just to have something out there with some kind of observations of fact would be, because they've completely just passed over everything that we know is we feel is important anyway.
Good point. Very good point.
Well, you were mentioning earlier about Mr. Howard Bloom kind of changing his tune. Here's the deal. He's out there poop coating it like the rest. So this is what has happened in the environment that the state has produced here, is everyone can poop coat their entire propaganda campaigns as Kohberger's former not attorney, professor that he knew in passing. That woman irritates me too. I don't even want to mention her name, but they can all paint their own propaganda narratives and continue to do so in your Datelines, your Peacocks, your whatever else is, right? And they're going to keep doing so. That's the environment that has been provided here and will continue to be provided by keeping these things under seal. And I don't expect anything to change there. But as far as Bloom's concerned, he's out there doing the same old Bloom nonsense, working for old Yayo Bob's buddy, Graydon Carter, the poop coat this entire affair. He's the point man on the propaganda. Now he's out there propagandizing folks on his own propaganda, and I have had enough of Howard Bloom.
Yep. Yeah, good. Another great statement, JJ. Another great statement.
He's sugarcoating the sugar glaze.
He's confused. He's confused with himself. And I was just thinking, it might be a better deal, Kane, if we all did a documentary, a YouTube documentary, instead of writing a book, because we're all video people anyway, and just all jump together and do it that way. I think that would work out way better. Our own version.
I concur, sir. Most folks don't read.
That is the truth. That is the truth.
I like to watch. I like a good book, but you're right.
Come on,
Here's
dude.
the thing
I
that
like to
I
read
think.
too, dude. But let's be honest about the situation. When presented with a documentary or a book, what are you doing?
Watching the doc.
You look back to when they interviewed people.
He's BSing us. He's definitely watching the documentary over there.
Well, okay, so here's what's holding everybody back from doing that.
I'm watching the documentary too, Kane.
It's
Don't think I'm calling out your reading Kane.
I know you have that giant TV over there in your living area, and you're dying to see your story up on that screen.
I live in a van down by the river. What are you talking about, sir?
I thought that was just a play set. But here's the thing, is we are seeking the truth. So we're sitting here waiting for one answer that tells us that we're sniffing the right direction. And we just need a few more missing pieces before I feel like any of us are really comfortable with setting out on a definitive documentary. Would you agree?
I want no sniffing here, sir. I want no sniffing.
I'll clone you, JJ, right now.
I'm out of here. That's it. I'm out of here. No, dude, I totally agree. It's not a bad idea, fellas. I wouldn't be opposed to these matters.
I think it would.
Maybe I can get it scripted in AI, because these software online things are.
You know, you got a brain hole, dude. You know how this case is. You know what you're doing. You got a vision clearly. Why don't you just step into it then? You know what obviously you're describing it to me like you have a whole idea, and I like it. I'm just saying, like, you don't need a machine for this, bud.
Well, maybe I'll pen it, and then you guys can review it for your own pleasure.
Now you're talking my language.
You
put together informative, entertaining shows week after week with graphics and et cetera, and you're going to tell me you can't put together what you're describing right now? I find that hard to believe.
I'll send you a pen and a notebook, bro. That's all you need.
Maybe Miss Potts can grab me one from the Dollar Tree or something.
There you go. That's all you need. I mean, think about the options. With all the truths and all the pieces and parts of things that we've all seen, talked about with quite a few of us creators, put it all together in a blender and hit that button, I'm telling you, it would come out to be something quite interesting, in my opinion.
You know what? That's a great idea, Dago, because then you could have a contributing chapter for each creator, and then do like a mishmash summary at the end. In conclusion.
Pardon me, sir. Does mishmash mean clone? Because if you're cloning me at the end of this thing, I'm out.
That would be a mash.
Okay. Just want to be clear.
But yeah, I mean, that's a good idea, in my opinion. I mean, based on the pieces of information that we were given, it's a whole different outlook what a lot of us have seen. So just saying, you can go from the crazy side of it all the way to the commonsensical side to it and see what people think, or we could just stick with the facts, which is what I'd rather do, and put it out that way. Because truly, if you think about it, the Dateline hit piece, the 48 Hours hit piece, who else? Everybody's already covered. Nightline. Most of it has all been propaganda pointing at Bryan Kohberger, and somebody coming out and saying, yeah, but this, and this pointed away from him. And all these other things that we've talked about and seen and found a lot of people probably have no idea about, to be honest with
Oh,
you.
for sure. No, I like where you're going with that. And like, you know, everyone has been using the Howard Bloom Point Man operations of propaganda here, and we can just use their own words against them, Howard Bloom's included, because Lucy Morningstar posts all these things on her timeline all the time, especially on the YouTube post, where she's pointing out the discrepancies in their own statements versus the evidence, the known knowns, if you will, to quote Donald Rumsfeld.
Absolutely.
The known knowns of the case. For example, the sheath DNA, she just posted yesterday pointing out again how there was actually other evidence that yielded not Bryan Kohberger that should have yielded some other investigation in here. And those are the things that I think we should focus on. Because in that way, it's objective fact, right? It's objective fact.
Amen.
Well,
Amen.
you have a lot of interesting side stories, such as Hannah Cleary, like the president of the frat, Demetrius, and Emma Bailey.
You ain't kidding, sir. But if I may interrupt you intentionally, why do you think that may be included? Like, I think what Dago and I are trying to say is keep it to the facts, and then these other theories. Trust me, I'm a conspiracy theorist, full blown. But
yeah, I agree with you. On the facts. We could do a whole chapter on the conspiracy theory shit too, if you want to, and put that in the back. Hey, go check this out. If you want to, but
well, I got a whole narrative on the financial.
You tell the various stories and you conjecture. You're going to have, at this point, we don't have all the facts. So at some point, you're going to have to take some liberties with the story as far as making connections, I believe. But you don't have to necessarily paint a ironclad narrative that you're stuck to. You can have the multiple choice ending, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of these other things with the thing, maybe Hannah Cleary was bullied, maybe her brother was at the grub truck, that it could be contributing factors that you want to mention into the story.
They could be, but I'm just saying the moment you do that, it's going to draw into question any objective analysis of facts in the case.
And then there's lawsuits that we got to worry about then too. So that's another us with that. But that's a good point.
It's what is the objective? If the objective is to tell these tales, which again I'm fine with, I tell these tales of conspiracy theories on my show all of the time relative to this case, so I'm not objecting to that. What I'm saying though is, if the objective of this project would be to convey the actual facts of the case versus the bullshit narratives of Bill Thompson,
show the truth as to how everybody on this side of the trestle here believes that Bryan didn't do this, and that in itself.
Right. And that would be the objective, right? So then if that's the objective, you want to keep it, just to the facts, right?
Yeah. But then, if you want to do something else later on, we could always do a whole other, here's the rabbit hole. You know what I mean? Jump down in the rabbit hole somewhere else. But I'm just saying, I think all of us here and quite a few other creators and community members that are in this group right here believe that Bryan didn't do this still. Okay. And that would be, in my opinion, the best objective for it, to show why we believe that and why, like I said, there's a lot of people that still don't know about this case. Twiz said that himself, that really don't know about it and have no idea. And if they were to see it, holy shit, you know what I mean? Like, this is really what happened. This is really what was going on. This was being hid from you the whole time. This was lied about. That was lied about. So, what do you think now? I think it's a good idea. Truly.
I totally agree with you, and I love these rabbit holes. And if folks want to tune in some Idaho rabbit holes, tune in to Operation GCD Live Wednesday night. Got an expert in matters of national security and Iran-Contra coming on as my guest, talking Idaho-Contra.
I'm looking forward to that one, sir. That is going to be a hot one. I will definitely be in the crowd.
He's a sharp young gent, and it'll be a fine conversation.
You have JJ. You have the most amazing guests. I don't know where you get them. I'm pretty sure you're sus.
I have a team of Muppets working 24/7, sir, out there recruiting for me. So, if I may draw another comparison to a project I worked on year when I first started getting into these matters of a conspiracy theory situation. It was that school event in my hometown of home county, at least Fairfield County, Connecticut, back in 2012, but. The folks that this research group put together basically just the facts, and they all had a different chapter with each one of these creators, and I think that is a good approach to these kind of things. I wasn't a creator; I was a researcher in that group that produced that project. But nonetheless, it was all creators that were talking about the subject, and then they all had their own chapter in what is essentially a documentary, right?
Yeah, that's interesting.
I think that you would be able to conjecture a little bit on each piece of information that we have without crossing a civil lawsuit line, really. If you kept it,
that's what I was saying. If we use their own words, right?
Oh, 100% use their own words. I mean, the point that Cy Ray's affidavit, for one, read that through the whole thing and then point out that the judge says, well, he calls him a conspiracy theorist when these are factual statements. That in itself.
For sure, but if we also use the words of Bill Thompson saying single source DNAs on sheaths, and then the actual evidence saying that, well, there was actually single source DNA that was not even investigated on that sheath, and then him arguing in court that the PCAs are relevant and that he never stalked anybody, and then later in court saying, oh, it was 23 times now.
Yep, and all of that. The fact that there was blood DNA that they didn't even try to put it through CODIS. For what reason? Yeah. All of that kind of shit right there is perfect for it.
There's no liability associated with using their own statements against them in those regards.
Yeah, I feel strongly what Jenn is saying here, that they knew the intent of the crime. We talked about it last week, JJ, how there may have been something scribbled on the walls in BLOD, and that's why they're removing pieces of drywall from the house and then literally destroying the house to disintegration point, and then they're burning the bodies without the parents' consent.
I think that's plausible. Yes, sir. I think it's very plausible.
That's an interesting point. I never thought of that. That would explain taking pieces of the house out and, like you said, the drywall removal and tearing the house down. Good reason to tear the house down because, once again, exculpatory evidence written on the wall. I mean, 100%.
And forever gone. And for whatever reason, that can never be known to the public. However, how are you able to keep all these people that were in and out of the house or allegedly around, that entered the house before the police got there quiet all this time? I mean, the only thing
fear of their own. Possibly, again, the fear of their own demise, possibly, Kane.
Not just demise, I agree with you, but also with these fraternities, it's blood in, blood out, right? Like a gang, so you have all kinds of other blackmail material, and when people say, oh, they can put pressure on you, I don't think they realize the scope of what they're alluding to there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because when you have people taking their own lives over one D-pic that got online, that somebody blackmailed them with. So you think about if something's threatening their family or their future, this is something worthy of keeping your mouth shut in Moscow, I guess. All this time.
I mean, yeah, you're right. And think about what was avoided here. They avoided having to show us autopsy photos. They avoided having to show us crime scene photos. They avoided having to show us anything of what happened that night. Okay. They haven't had to show any of that now. And I think that was the point the whole time, because in a sense, with all that stuff being shown to us, talked about to us, described to us, that could have changed the whole narrative 100%, in my opinion, and let the cat out of the bag. And there, in turn, there had to be a way out of that. Well, here we are. So I'm just saying that's just an opinion once again that I have. And like I said, my brain does not stop running 24/7 about this. And it never will, I don't think, until I get answers. So just saying.
And furthermore, once what I was saying, trying to get into is once this thing has come to pass, whichever way it goes on the 23rd, the press is going to be out there for answers. If not just YouTube, the press, mainstream media, with rewards for accounts, for witness statements, and possibly money talks, and answers could surface. Too late.
Are they?
Could be.
There's got to be some answers out there, Jage. Somebody knows.
At some point,
dude, I don't disagree, but ain't no one talked yet, bud.
Well, once sentencing happens, though, I was wondering, I just said this 2 days ago. Once sentencing happens, if nothing comes down from that, and they sentence him to prison for life. Okay, it's over. It's done. What's to stop anybody from saying, okay, they got him locked down. It's over with now. Nothing can change. He can't appeal it. It's deadlocked, right? What's to stop somebody from saying, okay, I can breathe now, and come and spit this shit left and right? It's very possible that it could happen.
I presume there's the same thing that stopped the media from putting a microphone in front of anyone in Latah County's face in the last 2.5 years.
Right.
Matters of national security.
That is possible too. And at some point, there could be people that just can't hold their tongue anymore. You know, at some point, it's been a long time.
I don't disagree. But when was the last case, Dago, you saw the police not give a press conference for 2.5 years in an ongoing matter?
Yeah, well, I get it.
Pretty odd, though, right? Pretty odd, right?
Or answering any questions also as well. They're as tight-lipped as anybody else about it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying there are correlations in other cases of very high-profile national security matters, but there's not, as traditionally speaking, this is not a normal case, and media has not seemed interested in putting a microphone in anyone's faces ever since December 2022, maybe January 2023.
And they're not interested in vetting facts. Look at how they got the wrong witnesses. They called them the prosecution witnesses at the trial that Miss Potts attended in Pennsylvania. And so they don't even bother with the facts. They just want to run with whatever makes them look bad. So I don't know. You guys, we've been at it a long ass time here, and I appreciate everyone in the chat hanging around. And guys, thank you so much for helping me out today, coming on. Dago, thank you so much, and JJ, I know you guys have both been at it all day already, so I don't want to.
We're just getting started here at the Purge. This is the greatest Purge ever.
It's always a good time, brother. I appreciate you having me anytime. I like to run my mouth, and you know that. So.
Hell yeah, yeah. Well, you know, I know the answers are out there. You know, I want to believe, but like I said, time will tell. The days are. The days are long and the years are short, but in this case right now, the final outcome feels within our grasp, right? I mean, I was gearing up, and I actually was at the point where I was going to be able to make it out to Moscow for this trial, and now it's like, I'm sure you feel the same way, that the rug just got pulled out from under all of us, you know, and we're just
absolutely
we're in the middle of a cartoon flip right now.
This is why I can't sleep. 100%. Can't stop thinking about it. I need to know.
Because you don't know if you're going to land on a slab of concrete or on a pillow. You know.
That's it. That is it.
Where are we going with this? You know. What do you think, Jage?
I don't disagree with both of your gents' assessments earlier in the show. I'm waiting for the shoe to drop.
Yep.
I think it's coming. I feel very strongly that there is something coming, probably within, at least by the 23rd, if not before.
Yep.
Something, I wouldn't be surprised if another twist pops up before then, having nothing to do with the plea. Just something crazy just falls out of the sky right into our lap. So, I
agree.
When I get my mind focused on something, hopefully I can do that with this video idea or book or documentary, and I'll shoot that you guys' way if once I get the ball rolling on it, and we can all contribute to that. We'll get AR and whoever else wants to be involved on it. So thank you guys again so much for being here. And
thank you for the invite as always, there, Kane and Dago. Great Purge with you as well, sir.
Always, JJ. It's an honor
fellow
for me.
Purgers. Good times. We'll catch you on the next reading Kane Bow.
All right, y'all. Have a great evening. Is it weekend? No, we're just starting the week out. It's like you don't even know the days of the week anymore. I know Jay goes the same way. I was like, is it Saturday? Is it Thursday? I don't even know anymore.
Always.
You know, because honestly, Dago, that's the first thing that everybody, look at this. You see the same names in this chat right now that started with this chat. Whether I have 300 views or 800 views or 1,000 views, the people that are here stay, because when I wake up, the first thing I do, I click, oh, their day goes live, boom, there we go there, and then at the end of the night, you got, you know, anything from Sarge to whatever. I'm watching it, you know, every minute that I'm not working. So
We all share the same amazing community, and because they're all critical, amazing, smart thinkers, and we appreciate every one of them. Absolutely.
And thanks for being on here, Twiz. I appreciate it. I forgot. I'm sorry. And sorry we couldn't get you up tonight, Jen, but I know she has a lot that she wants to tear into. I'm sorry I didn't play that video, but
love to hear from her.
We'll get to it next time, guys. I'm going to end it right there, and y'all have a great evening.
Play us out? What does that mean, play us out?
Oh, yeah, I got to play us out. I forgot.
Play us out.
I will. We got a nice video.
Great chat with you again, Dago. Catch you next time, sir. Kane,
too,
always.
Take care.
All right, guys.
Hello, Bergers.
Take care, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to make a video saying thank you to all my new subscribers. This is a new venture for me. I've never done this before, so thank you so much for all your support.
Are you okay? What happened? Grab the front brake? No. Well, I'm not walking back up this hill.
You're driving.
Driving?
No, I don't want to do it. I just fucking fell. No.
This is why you wear some dirt bike clothes.
Just go around to the other door. Go around.
Dash, come here.
Las Vegas. We are on Tropicana in front of the Walmart. Every last one of the light poles, the electricity poles are down. This goes for Mouse. We ain't got no power. I don't know what the hell is going on.
Wally is believed to have fallen asleep on an iceberg and then drifted in blissful ignorance south from the Arctic to Ireland, which is a very unusual place for walruses to be. After he was initially spotted, Wally decided to take a solo vacation across Western Europe, and marine biologists tracked him as he visited the UK, France, and even Spain. He then started making his way back up north, but during his 6-week stay on the Isles of Scilly, Wally started getting up to some mischief, and he started using boats as his personal nap rafts. Because Wally weighed an estimated 1,800 pounds at the time, and some of the vessels that he chose were relatively small, he ended up capsizing and sinking several boats. So in an attempt to be accommodating hosts, and to try to minimize property damage, the British Divers Marine Life Rescue crafted a floating couch just for him, which was really a sturdy pontoon with 3 sides to lean against. Wally took to the floating couch, and once he left the area and continued north, Seal Rescue Ireland also prepared a special float for him, allowing Wally to actually couch surf his way back up the coast. After a short stay in Cork, Ireland, Wally was spotted in Iceland 22 days later, which was great news for everyone following his journey. This confirmed that Wally was successfully making his way back to the Arctic, where he's now believed to be living a much more typical walrus life with all of his walrus friends.
She is, in fact, an attorney, but not only is she an attorney, she is a federal attorney. She's well known, well qualified to defend clients charged with the death penalty as lead counsel in state court. She's also known for being a powerful advocate for clients charged with serious federal crimes, state felonies, and misdemeanors.
You know how many states make up the United States?
50.
You know what the capital is?
Of
The United States?
Harrisburg. Oh, is there a capital in the U.S.?
Who fought in the Civil War?
The Civil War? Wasn't it... What's his name? Kennedy? Kennedy's...
Yeah, Kennedy against who?
I don't...
A Tennessee man who was pardoned by President Trump has been sentenced to life in prison for plotting to attack FBI agents and attempting to incite a civil war. Edward Kelly was the fourth rioter to enter the Capitol on January 6th. He faced a separate investigation for targeting federal agents who were looking into his role in the Capitol attack. Now Kelly is set to spend the rest of his life behind bars.
And make this person say that they had nothing to do with it. He did it solely. He did it all on his own, and nobody else was responsible. And then we won't keep having these supporters always saying that he got set up. We know what he's planning on doing. Somebody died, a vet died, and he's going to try to say that, put the blame on that person. So he's not going to take accountability. And Thompson didn't force him to take accountability. He didn't even negotiate. That's terrible.
You don't think 4 life sentences is justice?
No, of course not. It's daycare. Prison is daycare, people.
If you could tell the judge one thing today, what would it be?
Do what's right. Do what you know. 4 people died in their sleep. If we had 4 other people that weren't college students, this would be the death penalty.
What do you want us to know about Kbls today?
Everyone would be ashamed of what happened today.
What do you want to happen? Why do you want this to go to trial?
Because then my peers, this community will decide that he's guilty. We'll take it out of freaking Thompson's hands. One man shouldn't decide what 4 souls are worth.
You said they made a deal with the devil?
Well, yeah, they did.
What is that?
Thompson. Thompson made a deal with Kohberger. He was the only person that was considered.
Yo, KB, is that the name you claim? Rolling through genres, let me play this game. Rap like a madman, Eminem with the slang, spitting bars so sharp like a rap hangman. From YouTube fame to Idaho's wild ride, you're breaking it down, putting truths aside. Kane B got the purge, no doubt, he's the king, breaking down the case like a YouTube machine. Kane B the purge, bringing heat in the booth. Facts on the table, there's no room for proof. Throwing down lyrics while the world's watching. Is it guilty or free? That's the question we're knocking. Kane B the purge, taking Idaho by storm. He's got the heat and the truth breaking the norm. We're all glued to this case, no one's letting go. Will Bryan be guilty or will he be let go? Kane B's in the game, watch him lay it all bare. Will justice find the truth or just disappear in the air? Here's my bubblegum pop, you ready or not? Kane B's in the mix with the case so hot. Rap, rock, pop, he's switching it up. Dancing through the genres like a YouTube cup. Got Kane B, the purge, putting the story in flow. Breaking it down with humor, watch the case blow. Boom, Kane B's riding with electric groove. Breaking it down, yeah, he's on the move. He's got the purge, so come and watch him reign. Sipping on knowledge like it's truth on a train. Kane B the purge, taking Idaho by storm. He's got the heat and the truth breaking the norm. We're all glued to this case, no one's letting go. Will Bryan be guilty or will he be let go? Kane B's in the game, watch him lay it all bare. Will justice find the truth or just disappear in the air? Now here I am, R&B vibes on deck. Let's get a little smooth, but don't forget, I'm bringing humor, I'm bringing the sound. But this case got us all spinning round. KB with the truth, it's hard to ignore. Like waiting for that next chapter in the lore. It's hard to ignore, like waiting for that next chapter in the lore.
At doing all of this.
What is he thinking to himself tonight, if you had to guess?
Well, I think he's enjoying all of this in his own way, that he's getting a lot out of this, that maybe it has paid off for what he's done and some of the changes, just as we've been talking about some of the appearances. And that is he going to be the best mass killer? As the judge said, it's a high profile case. So all of that is feeding into the part of him that really wants the recognition and thinks that he pulled it off or tried to pull it off. So I think he's just thinking of ways that maybe how it's going to go, who he's going to see, and how much he's going to be able to enjoy this. I don't think at this point, this is a high. This is before he goes to prison, where it's going to be, nobody's going to be there. I think that's when there's the big drop that they all describe. So he's high on it right now.